LeBron has always been a thin-skinned diva and the mentally weakest superstar ever.
Let's go.
Here we go.
I've been looking forward to this.
You are.
All right, welcome back to the show, everyone. And welcome to round 3 of LeBron James, the biggest hater, versus 15 LeBron stans featuring Skip Bayless. In other words, Skip Bayless versus 15 LeBron superfans, super stans, LeBron sexuals, whatever you want to call it. It's been a really, really entertaining first 2 rounds. Looks like we have 1, 2, 3, 4, I think 5 more rounds. And guys, to be completely honest, the first 2 videos, the first 2 reactions I did got claimed. Copyright claimed by Barstool Sports, and I didn't realize that was gonna happen, so it's kind of unfortunate. But what that means is I can still do this. It just sends all of the ad rev over to Barstool. So I figured let's try and do the rest of this in one video. So round 3 is hopefully going to be the final round. But this is a long, it's about an hour and 20 minutes left in this. So let's see if I can make it all the way through. I will do my best to do so. But I figured, my first reaction was like, oh man, like I should just walk away from this. But I'm like, yeah, let's just finish the job. Started it, let's finish it. I want to watch this anyways. So might as well, let's do it. What was I going to say? As always, I'm going to link the original video down below, you guys. So if you want to check out this channel, it is RightHandKam, which I guess is part of Barstool. And yeah, I'll link the original video down in the description for you guys if you want to check out the channel. And everybody else, please leave this video a like. It helps out the channel a lot. Even if there's no monetization on there, it still helps to get eyes on the channel. And they might come back for another video or watch another video, So anyways, without further ado, I think that's all I have to say. We are heading for round 3 and the category, well, I'll let Skip announce it since we're here. All right, here we go. Round 3.
LeBron has always been a thin-skinned diva and the mentally weakest superstar ever.
Let's go.
Here we go.
I've been looking forward to this.
You are.
My name's Andrew. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio.
Uh-oh. Wait. And you actually got over LeBron leaving you the first time?
I did.
Okay.
He brought me my only ring.
You were
in my
like
lifetime.
3 years old then, right? Okay.
23, all right.
Okay.
He has been averaging 28, 8, and 8 since I've been walking.
That's
Okay.
crazy because LeBron basically dumped him twice. He didn't leave him once, he left him twice.
Since LeBron was in high school, Brian Windhorst has been following him around. Everyone knows who LeBron is. He's got the Sports Illustrated cover.
True.
He has been dealing with the media and everything around him since he was 16 years old. Jordan did not have the media attention with the current media landscape in the world, with all social media, with us doing this right now. They get way more attention nowadays than Jordan got back in the day.
It's different kind of attention. Back then, he had thousands of people with giant cameras and recording equipment chasing him everywhere he went, so you couldn't get any peace. Nowadays, you have people just like recording you on their phones, kind of secretly. It's kind of similar, like you can't go anywhere in peace. So I'd say neither of these dudes have ever known a world without the paparazzi or without the mainstream media being all over every action they ever did.
LeBron has had an eyeglass on his personal life, on his professional life, everything.
So did Jordan.
Since he was 16 years old, and he is still here as the greatest basketball player of all time. If that's not being thick-skinned, then I don't know what it is. There have been media.
But what about Jordan? The LeBron fans love to bring up the idea of Jordan's gambling problem. You know why that became public? The freaking media was harping all over it, writing books on it, writing articles on it. He had to go and do one-on-one sit-downs on TV for this. It's the same thing. It's just different because it was pre-internet time, So it was pre-social media, but the same scrutiny was happening to MJ, and he bounced back every time.
There have been media personalities for the past 20 years on various channels across various industries that have taken shots at him that he does not respond to until recently. Pat McAfee's show.
Okay.
Man's 40 years old and he broke.
Let's just go recent.
Okay.
Obviously, Stephen A. Smith is my brother, so I do defend him, but in this case, I'm being completely objective. LeBron went over during a timeout at a game in which Stephen A. was watching his Knicks play out in Los Angeles and ambushed him, blindsided him, sucker punched him verbally by walking up to him and saying, "Keep your son's name out of my mouth." Well, all Stephen A. said was that Bronny was looking like he couldn't play in the NBA, which he was at that point.
I would
looking
make
like
the argument that if Michael Jordan did the same thing, called 1996, roles reverse, the media would love it. They would be that killer instinct.
He wouldn't have done it
Jordan.
that way.
No,
like LeBron.
No, Jordan had the opportunity to get his two sons in the league. They were middle of the road college players, but he had the power to do it. He actually had the ownership of a team to do it. He had the ultimate supreme power to do this and get his sons in the NBA, but he didn't do it because he wanted them to earn it the right way. So no, Jordan did actually have this exact opportunity, but he didn't do it. He didn't do it because it was the wrong thing to do. So LeBron did it. Therefore, he deals with the scrutiny, because we would have been scrutinizing Jordan too, and Jordan's kids. You know, we'd be like, Marcus, man, Marcus doesn't really belong in the NBA, but MJ got him in. Like, it's kind of BS. We would actually attack Jordan for doing something like that because it'll ruin the purity of the game that we love.
Wanted to hit and run. LeBron wanted to say what he said, get it on camera, because he knew all the cell phones were going to be capturing it, and go back right into the basketball game so he didn't have to face the onslaught of what Stephen A. might respond with. Stephen A. got no response, and that's the kind of conversation, if you really care about it, say meet me outside the locker room after the game. I don't know. That's just thin-skinned diva to me.
I don't think that.
Okay, good job. Way to go.
I got to agree with Skip, too, and I'm not on the side of Stephen A. Smith. I'm never really on the side of Stephen A. Smith. I'm not a big fan. But at the same time, if you need to have a conversation with somebody, have a conversation with them. You know, have a real conversation. Don't just shout a couple of things at them and walk away. Like, that leaves business unfinished and unsettled. Like, go and settle it, you know, until you come to terms, you walk away with an agreement. Don't just try to scare somebody and then walk away, you know, bark at them like a dog.
Good job. Okay, how are you, sir?
Frank.
Hi, Frank.
Also from Cleveland, Ohio.
Are you really? Wow.
All right, so
By the way, how old were you when LeBron left you?
The first time.
I was 20. I'm old in the room. Yeah.
And did you burn his jersey when you were 20?
No, I actually have a bunch at home that are mediums that I couldn't wear today because I look like a sausage. So here we are, brand new double XL. I just want to say, when LeBron first started in his career as a high schooler, I was 8 years old watching him. He played football with my brother at St. Vincent St. Mary. So I've watched him ever
cool.
since I was that little.
Yeah, 100%. This guy's got to be a LeBron, like, absolute lover. Because, like, it impacted him at a very young age. So, yeah, no, I could totally respect this, actually, and understand why.
I'm, as I said, 32, washed, and he's still dominating the NBA. Before he even played his first game on ESPN, they ran a promo open showing Larry Bird, Oscar Robertson, Michael Jordan, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He hadn't even played a high school game on national TV yet, and he was already compared to those legends.
Yeah, that shouldn't have been the case. No high schooler should be compared to these legends.
So as a 16-year-old, he was the 11th best player of all time, according to the media. He ended up not only living up to that, but exceeding those expectations throughout his career. Additionally, Michael Jordan, you said he was thick-skinned and LeBron is not, ran away to play baseball when the first sign of adversity.
No, he was forced out. So he just said, well, I'm out. I might as well go try my childhood dream, which is to play baseball.
If you
No,
want to,
that's not the timeline. Jordan retired voluntarily the first time. Skip's getting old, man. So, no, when Jordan went to go play baseball, he did so voluntarily. But his father had just gotten murdered. His father was his best friend. I'm tired of telling this story, but that was the thing. His father wanted him to play baseball, always wanted him to play baseball, and the two of them before Michael Jordan's father died, he was killed. They were in talks of Jordan playing baseball and retiring from basketball. So Jordan wanted to honor his legacy, and well, he did it. And in the process, he found the love of the game of basketball all over again. That's the real story. It's not adversity and he ran away. He was honoring his best friend and his father's legacy. Tired of this topic.
Spin it that way. That's great. That's
It's
why
not a
you are
spin.
who
It's the
you are.
truth. No,
But
it's
the thing
that's
is
what happened.
The thing is, if he was thick-skinned, as we all say, he would have actually put up a fight and said, "No, I'm playing the sport that I love. I'm continuing my legacy." He failed to do that.
The
Baseball was also the sport that he loves. He loved multiple sports.
commissioner booted him. So
Great. That's a point in our favor. Then we will take that on the LeBron side, and LeBron has never had.
What does that have to do with playing basketball?
What is Skip even talking about? When did David Stern boot Michael Jordan? It never happened.
He ran away from basketball, and people ignore those 2 years.
No. Okay. All right. Way to go. Thank you.
Like, that's the dumbest argument ever, and the LeBron fans are making it all the time. Jordan did not run away. He just won 3 championships in a row. You know, like that's not a guy who's scared. That's a guy who's like, yeah, I'm bored. You know, like a boxer who defended his title over and over and over again and just concedes the title and walks away. You know, he's like, I'm done. None of you scrubs can beat me.
Yeah. All right.
That's not running away. That's dominating.
What's your name, Bob?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Skip, you say LeBron isn't thick-skinned, but I think being that is how you deal with adversity. The decision, leaving Cleveland to go to Miami. He had a target on his back from day one, joining Bosch, joining D.
By the way, I applauded that move. I thought he needed to leave Cleveland.
Well,
That he-
I think his success there proves that it was worth it.
Yeah, it was.
So, like I said, being thick-skinned is how you
Yeah.
deal with adversity. Target on his back, won in Miami. What does he do? He wants to go home to Cleveland and bring a championship to his city. That takes fucking balls. And he did it, and he won. So what does he do there? He accomplishes
I mean,
his
it helped
mission.
that Kyrie was there, right?
And
But
Kevin Love.
you need to have a supporting cast somehow.
Yep.
So what does he do then? He wants to take his career to the next chapter of its life. He goes to LA. As we know, the LA Lakers, Luke Walton as their coach, they weren't really set up for success there. But what do? They have LeBron, they make a couple moves, and they win a championship in the bubble, which people want to call Mickey Mouse.
It is.
Mickey Mouse.
But
I'll call
I
it.
want to call it impressive, seeing how everyone basically asked LeBron, is this what we're going to do? And everyone went to Orlando, and they say themselves, the players, that it was a fucking hell of a time there and tough as shit to win.
Okay,
So I think that's
but-
adversity.
Yeah, and also, if that's the case, they asked LeBron, and they did the bubble because LeBron says so. First of all, I don't believe that shit. But to combat what he's saying, if that's really the case, dude, we're in the middle of the scariest time we can remember, 2020. And we're all scared. We all want to be with our families. We all want to be home. We all want to be safe. You want to tell me LeBron is thinking about basketball, and LeBron chooses to make all of his fellow NBA friends leave their families during a pandemic and go play basketball? It was his choice? That's stupid if that's the case, and I don't believe it for a second. I think this guy's full of it.
And Jared Dudley told me and told the world at that point that the Clippers, obviously they were the best team in the bubble. You could just see them coming. They were better than the Lakers that year.
Yeah, they were.
And as Jared said, them boys didn't want to be in that bubble because they didn't. They just wanted out. They wanted to go home. So LeBron
Yeah,
took
everyone
advantage
wanted to go. Yeah, he's nailing it.
of a lot of players who didn't want to be there.
I call
Is
that thin skin.
Okay, really? Okay, but remember, LeBron got almost 4 months off because of the pandemic to get ready for that run to that finals.
Okay.
And then the Clippers crap out. They're up 3-1 on Denver. And LeBron gets a gift ring from the bubble. And that's Mickey Mouse to me.
And yeah, I don't call it thin-skinned. If I would have had the opportunity during the pandemic to stay home somehow, I would have done it. But I didn't have that option. I had to be out there in a restaurant every single day. It sucked too. It really, really, really freaking sucked. But I'm sure a lot of you have similar stories. And I don't consider it thin-skinned if you take the option to not go out there every single day during a time like that. That's bullshit, dude. You know, I don't even want to get into the details, but I've lost a couple of people to COVID during that time. It was a devastating period in my life, and I would have loved to be home instead of out there in the public every single day. Yeah, I don't consider that thin-skinned at all. At all. At all. This is a different scenario. This was bigger than basketball at this point. You know, basketball was not important during this time. You know, staying healthy, staying safe, keeping your family safe, that was what's important. So all these players having to abandon their families during this time, man, I'd feel so guilty if I had just left my family during the pandemic to go play freaking basketball. Yeah, I wouldn't be focused either.
Okay. All right, good job. Yeah. Okay, how are you, sir? Tyler. All right, hi, Tyler.
Tyler.
Talk about LeBron being thin-skinned. I'm sure we all remember 2016. Caps go down 3-1. Klay Thompson has a quote in one of the pressers that LeBron got his feelings hurt. LeBron sat there. I actually had this on a flag in my freshman dorm room. The graphic, glasses, sitting there laughing with the Undertaker shirt on. What does he proceed to do? He rips off 3 straight to come back 3-1 in the finals. To me, and I think everyone here, that's being pretty thick-skinned and handling adversity. Anything to say?
So that's one example of thick skin. I'll quickly give 2 examples of thin skin so we can move right on. 2010 playoffs against Boston, 2011 finals versus Dallas. I'd say that's pretty thin skin on both of those examples, as he basically quit on his team both times. And in Dallas was even worse versus Dallas because he completely shrunk and choked for his team. That's thin skin. So he's got 1 example for thick. I got 2 examples for thin. Moving on.
Okay. He was right place at right time. Draymond got suspended for a finals game. In the history of the finals, I didn't think I would ever see a player get suspended for a finals game. And at that point, I'm not a big Draymond fan now because I think he's over the hill, but he was their guts and their glue. And they lost their enforcer, quote unquote, because he's the dirtiest player in the history of basketball, is Draymond Green.
Yeah.
He literally kicked LeBron in the nuts during the NBA Finals game. And finally, Kiki Vandeweghe, who was the Minister of Justice at that point, said, okay, that's enough. So that was a big break, and all of a sudden the momentum switched completely, and I'll say it again, LeBron played very well in Game 7, had the great chase down block, though it was a bicycle built for 2 because J.R. Smith cut off Iguodala at the pass. Well, he did. He just did. He slowed him down, and Iguodala's going to dunk it, and then J.R. cuts in front of him, and he has to kind of take an extra dribble and try to lay it up, and LeBron, comes from...
Okay. I'll give LeBron the block. It was a very good block on Iggy.
Ambush block. It's the classic ambush because the guy doesn't see it coming. Way to go. Okay. If you're going to block somebody, block them eye to eye, face up.
Well, I agree with that. Yeah, I totally agree with that. But still, in this scenario, on a fast break, chase down block's about all you can do. So he did it. Got to give it to him. I can't hate that much.
Go at him. That's what I want to see, right? Okay, all right. So the point was Kyrie finally nobody could make a shot in the last 3 minutes until Kyrie finally said, I've seen enough of this. Yep. And he made the shot because that's not LeBron's forte to make a shot like that.
And the funny thing is LeBron claims that one-on-one is not an important aspect of basketball. It's a team sport. Yeah, and I get what he's saying, but at the same time, it's so BS because they needed a one-on-one ISO player in order to win that series. And Kyrie was the only true one-on-one ISO player that could get it done. And he got it done when it counted the most. Just give him the ball and get the hell out of the way. Sometimes you need a guy to do that, which is why I've always said LeBron is one of the greatest basketball players of all time. But he can't be the greatest because he needs a closer. He's not the closer. He always needs someone to come in and finish the job for him that can do these kind of things and play ISO. Dwayne Wade was another example of this. Great ISO player. Oh, this guy again.
You're back.
Yeah, this guy's personal when it comes to LeBron.
You have been covering LeBron probably harder than any human being in the history of the planet. You
Maybe I've been more honest about it.
No.
Maybe you haven't met Scap Attack yet, bro.
Saying you followed, like you said earlier today, you've watched every dribble that he's done in his career, right?
Yep.
You've
Or AOH.
been ridiculing him. You've been just ripping.
Speaking the truth.
Yeah.
Yes.
You've
Go
been
ahead.
lying on national television for clicks, which I respect. But you get the numbers. You get the numbers, but you're not telling the truth. I know you don't even
I'm
believe the
telling
stuff
the
you're saying.
truth. I
Anyway,
backed up everything with facts.
I don't know. You've
got
you've been
feelings, I
had
got
today a
facts.
couple times. But let's continue. Anyways, how many times has he publicly responded to you over the 22-year career? In all of his lowest
I
moments.
don't care.
No, but that's
Like,
not.
I just don't care.
In all of his lowest
I get what they're
moments,
saying.
you're
Yeah.
the first guy to get
He's
on
talked
TV.
about me before, but he hasn't responded to criticism.
So zero.
you know?
So in all of his lowest moments, you're the first person to go on TV
Mm-hmm.
and shred him, rip him apart, get your numbers that you need to get. I
So
respect
you're
the numbers.
admitting he had a lot of low moments, right?
You play for 22 years. You have like 3, I think.
Oh,
I think
really?
there's 3 videos of you.
I
ripping
get
him
what
up.
he's trying to say. I get it. Even if it's going over Skip's head, he's trying to say that Skip has been, basically bashing him, to be fair, his whole career. But he's thick-skinned because he never felt the need to respond. I'll give him that one. I will give him that one because that's Jordan's style, too. He hears all these comparisons and debates and all this stuff going on with his name in it, and he doesn't give a damn. He's above it all.
Apart. For all of those times, for him to never respond to you once. Okay, Stephen A. Smith decides to take a low blow coming after his son. Not
a low
about
blow.
not
It
about
was
his
the truth.
not about his basketball ability. He's saying please as a father. He's coming after him as a dad. Not anything to do on the court, right? And also, Bronny is probably the second greatest 55th overall pick in the history of the NBA.
Okay.
Only behind Patty Mills. Respect for Patty Mills.
By the way, I looked into it. Bronny in the G League is looking really good right now. Bronny in the NBA is still looking really bad, but he might have a career in the G League, or he might convert that into being a role player on a basketball team eventually. It's kind of cool. I'm more interested in Bronny James's journey than LeBron's journey, to tell you the truth, because Bronny's kind of the underdog now.
By the end of Bronny's career, I think he'll be number 1. Anyways,
Okay, at that point, it was late January, and Bronny was having the hardest time in both the G League. He'd had a hard time in the Summer League, and he was getting into
G League,
Laker games.
he's averaging 20 points in the G
But
League.
at that point, he was horrendous in the G League. Trust me, this
He
is
was.
late January. Go back and look at it.
8 games
He played
into the
3
season,
games.
8 games into the season
Yep.
on First Take, they're saying, "Oh, they should fire JJ." JJ's a Coach of the Year nominee.
All right,
I mean,
that's a whole nother
Yeah,
issue.
but don't switch subjects there. Skip's right. At that time, everyone was criticizing Bronny because, really, it wasn't so much about Bronny. It was just about the fact that he was forced in, without doing it the right way. But yeah, no, Bronny had a terrible start. We all covered it. We all talked about it. I always said I hope he figures it out because I could tell like it's the pressure killing him. Like he's definitely better than what we were seeing, and now we're seeing him rise above the pressure. And well, in the G League, he's not comfortable with the NBA yet, but yeah, he's a better basketball player than I thought he was. And I'll admit that in the beginning, he looked like the worst basketball player we've ever seen. Professional. Now he's looking decent. So I'm gonna be fair, and I want to see where his career takes him now. Do I believe he should have gotten an $8 million guaranteed contract from the NBA? Hell no. I stand by all the things that I said about that. However, as a basketball player, story's not written yet. We'll see what he's made of.
That's
Okay,
I mean,
but I'm saying when Stephen A. spoke, it was late January, and Bronny was, I think, 2 of 22 from 3 combined in the G League and the NBA.
but Stephen A's argument wasn't even about his play on the court.
Okay,
He was
well, he
speaking
was
to
just
LeBron
saying-
as a father,
Yeah.
which is completely
Well,
different. That's in
okay,
lieu
but
of all
he
these
was
stats.
saying that the only reason Bronny was on the team was because of his father. Okay, way to go. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
He gets emotional and he just drops. He drops a bomb and then he walks away. He did that the first time too. He gets angry, and then he has to get up and walk away.
Okay.
Pleasure coming back.
Yes, sir. Here we go.
All right. Thanks again, Skip. Some of the other debaters came up and talked about.
This was an interesting handshake.
Thanks again, Skip. Some of the other debaters came up and talked about stuff off the court. Let's go on the court. Let's talk ball. 2011, loses to the Mavs, right? A natural person that would respond to that would Wilter. What does LeBron do? He rattles off 8 straight finals appearances. Let's talk about them. 2012.
He was good.
Goes band for band against the Thunder. James Harden, Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, top of
baby.
All
They're all
babies.
just little kids, but go ahead.
3 first ballot Hall of Fame guys.
Yeah.
They're not bad.
No, but they were a bunch of kids at that point. Let's be fair. Them making the finals was huge. Was huge, the amount of success that they had at such a young age.
So he wins that. He's first team All-NBA, first team All-Defense, Finals MVP, regular season MVP. That's a good way to respond to some tough criticism, right?
Agreed.
Because the summer of 2011, you're coming
give
from
you
him,
that.
right?
No, most important, they won the championship. That's all that really matters. All the individual accolades doesn't matter after a choke job like 2011. But he came back and won.
2013, he does it again against San Antonio Spurs.
Thanks to Ray Allen. Yep.
You could say that. Still won Finals MVP, something Steph didn't do in 2015 when the LeBron stopper held LeBron to 36, 13, and 8. That's diabolical.
Okay, Game 4 in LeBron's house was not diabolical. It was horrible for LeBron James.
We can talk Game 4. We can talk Game 6. LeBron has done stuff in the
7 of
finals that no one's
22
ever
in
done.
Game
Michael
4.
Jordan couldn't. Michael Jordan played against 10 Hall of Famers in these 6 finals that you cherish and love.
Yeah.
LeBron's gone against 32.
Yeah.
It's night and day. It's not even close.
Okay,
It's
how about let's count the Hall of Famers that Jordan had versus the Hall of Famers that LeBron has had on his teams during his championships then. Be fair.
literally
Realize-
not even close.
You realize Jordan never even got close to a game.
Yeah, because he was getting
7.
swept in the first round by the
Game
Celtics 2 years in a row.
So that's 1986, dude. We're talking about the finals. That's 1990 through 1998. Noob.
We're talking about in his second year, he got swept by Larry Bird, the 86 Celtics. That might have been, a lot of people think it was the greatest team ever.
Bro, LeBron just got swept by freaking Denver. Like, come on. We're talking about one of the greatest teams in NBA history and a second year Michael Jordan. Second year. Get over yourselves, guys. Stop this argument. It's actually embarrassing when LeBron fans use this argument. It just shows you don't know the history of the game. You can't compare that. Because all we're gonna do is say, yeah, you can't even beat Denver in the playoffs. You get swept out by Denver. Like, that's pathetic. That's not one of the greatest teams of all time. Not even close.
And after game 2, a double overtime game in which Jordan scored 63, Larry Bird, who wasn't quick to compliment
tired of hearing the
anybody,
story.
said that was God disguised as Michael Jordan. That's what they thought of him. That's what Bird at his apex thought of Michael Jordan.
Okay, round 4. What are we in for?
LeBron's achievements are all quote-unquote longevity marks built on most minutes played.
Yeah.
Who would like to attack that premise?
Let's
Here we
do
go.
it. Let's do it, because that changes it to, instead of longevity stats, let's talk about averages. I'm down. I asked for that. Let's go.
So, I will give you that most of the strong points that a lot of LeBron supporters are able to make are longevity based. However,
Just end it right there, bro. You already just admitted it.
look at the specific accolades he's received in his career. The main thing you look at is the 2016 finals against the Warriors. The clutchest performance by an NBA player. He came back down 3-1 with his team, led the team in all of the main statistical categories. That is something that you don't have to look to longevity to back it up. And
I'd give Jordan's 98 finals more clutch than that, because his whole team was collapsing on him. The building was falling down around him. He was exhausted, but he still carried the team to a victory in 6 games. He didn't need to go down 3-1. He kept the building up the entire time. And how he did it, I still have a hard time understanding. I've gone back and rewatched the 98 finals so many times. And yeah, his whole supporting cast, the whole system, everything was collapsing on him. But he went out there and made it happen on both ends of the court. Somehow, some way.
I'd love
Because
to hear.
with the getting down 3-1 and coming back, My question is, why did you let your team get down 3-1? If you're that great, why did you let it happen? Why did you have to come back that way? Except for just for theatrics.
What else do you have to say on
Okay,
the topic?
what I have to say is that the shot of shots in Game 7 in Steph's house, not made by Steph, was made by Kyrie Irving. For the last 2 minutes of that game, nobody could buy a basket, including LeBron James. And Kyrie said, I've had enough of this. I got this. And he rips a
give me the
three
ball,
that
get out of
wins
the way.
game. So, again, LeBron never seemed to make the shot. Jordan always made the shot that had magnitude, that had impact, that ended series, ended games, ended the NCAA championship game to start with. And in this case, once again, LeBron wasn't the guy in the end. It was Kyrie. And if Kyrie doesn't make that shot and Steph finally finds himself down the stretch of that game, you could be 3-7 in the finals.
It's so weird because it's like, let's take that same 98 finals again. So Jordan was the hero of the series, like by far. If you guys don't know, just watch the series. You'll see it for yourself. That's like giving Scottie Pippen all the credit then, because like Kyrie was the hero of that series, right? So, but instead of Kyrie getting credit, they give LeBron the credit. So if Jordan was the hero in 98, why aren't we giving Scottie Pippen the credit? Like, it would be about the same thing. It's not deserved. It's not earned. It's not right. In fact, Kyrie deserves a lot of praise.
I can see that, but I think boiling it down to one shot from one aspect of the game, strictly just scoring, is kind of taking away from everything that LeBron did achieve throughout that series, as far as his ability to command playmaking through
Here's
assists.
the point. When you have played 71,000 combined regular season playoff minutes, the most ever, it's a tribute to your durability, your longevity, but not to your game-to-game greatness, as in Jordan playing 11 total years. That's all he really played. Complete years, he played 11. LeBron is obviously in year 22, and we ain't seen the end of it yet because it looks like he's 40 going on 28. It looks like he is playing the best basketball at 40 of anybody ever. And I give you the longevity, durability of it because it's unmatched. But if you want one game for your life, one shot for your life, give me Michael Jeffrey Jordan.
Yeah, any day of the week.
Yeah. Hey.
Come on, LeBron fans, even you guys got to admit, you don't want LeBron with that last shot. You want Larry Bird. You want Reggie Miller. You want Michael Jordan. You want these guys to take that last shot. You don't want the ball in LeBron's hand. You want Kobe.
Here we go. Yes, sir.
So, Skip, the best thing that I can come up with against your argument is to talk about moments that matter. Let's talk about the playoffs. You say LeBron's stats and his credit all are due to longevity, but I'd argue against that. I'd quote, number one, the 2015 and 2016 finals, when in 2015, despite losing that series, LeBron led both teams in 5 major statistical categories. Played so strongly, in fact, that they gave Iguodala the MVP for holding him to what, 36, 13, and 8, I think I was quoted as earlier.
Okay, but
A year
remember,
later-
Iguodala didn't start until Game 4. He wasn't in the starting lineup until Game 4. And I give you that LeBron's first 3 games of that series were the greatest 3 games combined he ever played in any playoff series.
Sure.
Give you that.
Sure, and then next year in 2016, down 3-1, a comeback I don't think either of us could say Jordan would have pulled off.
Jordan didn't have to pull it off because he won in 6.
What he
Ron
pulled
goes-
off? He would have done it in 6
Thank you.
games. That's what he would have done.
Yep.
Hard disagree because we all know in this
They
entire
would have just
room,
quit. The
Jordan's-
Warriors would have said, we're out.
Jordan's
We
never
quit.
played a team
Hey,
like the
man.
2015.
6 is his number, man, in the finals. It just is. It just is. He won every series in 6 except for the first one in 91 against the Lakers, and that was in 5. So come on. Like, he's at a point, at that point, he's 100%, is his numbers that he's going to win the finals. If he gets to the finals, he's going to win the finals, and if he wins the finals, he's going to win it in 6 or less games. We're not making crap up. That's what the resume shows us. That's what the stats show us. What it shows us with LeBron is that 40% of the time, LeBron makes it to the finals. he's going to win the series. The other 60% of the time, he's going to lose. That's what the numbers tell us. But they don't want to see it. They want to talk about this coming back from 3-1 crap.
15, 16, or 17 Warriors. LeBron goes, again, another year of leading both teams in 5 major stats. None of that has to do with longevity. That comes with showing up every day and playing your heart out. Number 2, 2011. Can't contest that. I am an objective LeBron fan, but what I can tell you is that
There's no such thing as objective LeBron fan. You are like all the fans, blind witnesses.
Right.
That's an oxymoron because you're a blind witness. What do you witness? You're not seeing what you're actually seeing. Go ahead.
I can tell you what I saw after 2011, and it's for 8 straight years, win or loss, LeBron took his team to the finals. He won in 2012, 2013. He was the MVP for both. Lost in 2014, came back in 2015. If it weren't for a couple key injuries to star players, we're talking about maybe 5 rings. 2016, another finals run, the best finals performance.
In '86, if Jordan wasn't injured, maybe they beat the Celtics. Blah, 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 blah. Let's talk about a bunch of crap that doesn't matter because it's not reality. Let's talk about hypotheticals. It's so dumb. Take it for what it is. 4 and 6, buddy.
Any of us have ever seen or will see. And then, as we've talked about here, 2017, KD joins the Warriors and forms what is the best team ever. Regardless, from 2017 to 2018, LeBron plays his heart out. Specifically in 2018, the single best run we've ever seen from a basketball player. I'm talking game winners. I'm talking about 30-point triple-doubles. LeBron did whatever it took up until that game 1 in 2018 against Golden State. You and I both watched that game. We saw how spectacular he was. Everything I've talked about up until now,
he was until the last shot, the one that mattered most.
But none of that.
If he just goes up and makes that jumper, you got me, but you don't got me.
Real quick. The Golden State Warriors can never be considered the greatest team of all time because they didn't win. They didn't win a championship. Therefore, they're not. It's not. That would go to, in my opinion, the 96 Bulls, who had the best record, and they also finished the job. However, if everyone wants to call that Golden State team the greatest team of all time, but LeBron's Cavs beat that team, shouldn't they be making an argument that LeBron's Cavs were the greatest team of all time at that point? That would make more sense. But you can't. You guys got to stop calling Golden State the best team of all time. They couldn't get the job done when it mattered the most. They're obviously not that great then. Yeah, they were fun to watch. Yeah, they were hard to beat. But all time, and you can't even win a championship? No way.
He did reverse the call. We're talking about a Cavs up 1 in that game.
Good job. All right. You're back again. Yes, sir.
All right.
Longevity.
We're getting a little crazy with this longevity thing because obviously, as we mentioned, the greatest young player in the history of organized competition. Now, as of pretty recently, the greatest old player in the history of organized competition. I don't even think you have on your sheet there anything to dispute that, right? All that happened in between was the greatest prime in NBA history.
4 and 6.
I have a question for you, though.
Yeah,
Okay, go
4
ahead.
and 6 in the finals. Why do they not want to just see it? Man, I love Eli Manning for the Giants because he's 2-0 in the Super Bowl, man. I've always been an Eli fan. I was always rooting for him. And to see him beat Tom Brady in the finals twice the way he did, he's 2-0, And at that point, that was Brady's only Super Bowl losses was to the Giants and to the Giants. And Eli Manning was leading the charge both times. But, I mean, the idea is, Tom Brady had what we considered possibly the greatest team of all time. The second time around where they lost to the Giants, they went undefeated in the regular season, obviously undefeated in the playoffs, until they met the freaking wildcard Giants in the Super Bowl, and we brought them down. Therefore, not the greatest team of all time. Sorry, but like, remember when we used to celebrate winners? People who win, we celebrate that for being so dominant and being so great. LeBron fans are just, he loses and they celebrate his losses. Oh, he lost in the finals. That's okay. You got us to the finals. Good job, buddy.
We're getting into a very strange with this longevity, almost as it's a negative. He has such great stats because he played for longer. Why is that a bad thing?
Why is no one talking about averages still? Skip, you dropped the ball on this one. We need to talk about averages if we're gonna try to combat the longevity thing.
Why did Jordan go and have to play double-A baseball, where he had more strikeouts than hits? He batted 200. I mean, he shouldn't. We talk about Bronny not being in the league. That guy shouldn't have played on any minor.
It must kill LeBron fans that Jordan actually took a break from basketball, went off and went to go play baseball, retired 3 times, spent that much time away from the game, and still had that much more success than LeBron James. Like, it must kill them that they have to use this and flip it. Oh, why did Michael Jordan have to go play baseball? Because he freaking could. And then he can come back and still be the greatest of all time.
League baseball team. No. But because I came up here before, I asked you 8 questions. You didn't answer any of them, which is kind of what you do, right?
But every one
my
of them.
question, so you understood them, you didn't answer. Okay, great. So when does longevity, so he's 40, right? How many years realistically does he have his prime? Like 12, 15 years left. He'll play till he's 55 maybe. At what point does longevity start to matter? Because I don't think it matters as much as we're making it seem, but why is that a negative? You're saying, well, he scored so much because he played till he's 40. He played for 22 years. Like, I don't see the problem with that. Please explain. Let's say he plays another 5 years in his prime. When are we going to start to give him some credit for it instead of using that? What if he retired 3 years ago? What if he got suspended from the league for gambling and he had to take 2 different retirements and for some reason that's said as like a positive? Explain to me when longevity starts to matter.
We're only
please.
using it because LeBron is making a case for him being the greatest of all time. If it wasn't for that, then honestly, we'd probably appreciate his longevity. But the fact is that he claims to be the greatest of all time. It's obvious that he's not. It's so obvious to all of us that he's not. He has to get over the hump of Michael Jordan, but he can't do it. So the idea here is that the longevity is just he's stat chasing. And, we were treating the longevity the same way as like the super team building, where it's like, man, it's pretty pathetic what you have to do to try to catch Jordan. That's how we've always felt. So now it's like he's 40 years old. He's still chasing Jordan, and it's embarrassing at this point. That's why the longevity stats, when it's used to make a case for him being better than Jordan, I find that embarrassing because they're just stats. They're not wins. They're not championships. They're not the things that matter, I don't know. If stats are all that matters, then James Harden should be top 10 all time.
The argument is Jordan versus LeBron.
Yes.
Jordan
Really?
played 48,000 minutes total to 71,000 for LeBron. That's 23,000, magic number. The original 23 was the only 23.
Math isn't my thing. Fact check that.
23,000 more minutes he has played, and I give you the longevity
It's a
of it.
positive thing.
Okay, but 10 scoring titles to 1
Yeah.
for LeBron. A defensive player of the year and 9 in 11 years. 9 first team all
in 1988,
defense.
they were playing the Atlanta Hawks. The Bulls had 7 steals as a team. The Hawks turned the ball over 6 times. I don't know, were computers invented back then? I'm not the brightest guy here. The stats were completely, you look at his stats in home games versus away games, especially on defense. And Skip, I've been a huge fan of you for a very long time. And as I was just saying, I commend your commitment to this bit. I think you're unbelievable. I'm not joking. You're fantastic at what you do, right? You said, again, we love revisionist history. You said in 2010 that he is the best defensive player in the world. I could find a clip of you saying that. Do you remember saying that?
In 2010, he was the best defender.
From 2008 to 2012, he was the best defender in the league. And that's what
I'm
going
that.
off. Well,
okay,
it's
so
what you said.
Does that make him better
So then
than
he didn't have a
Jordan?
defensive player of the year. Why are we using that as like something that matters?
Because
also,
he
what
had
are we
one.
talking about here? Longevity?
9
Can you
out of
answer my
11.
question?
This almost winning something doesn't count. Again, LeBron fan trying to celebrate something. Almost winning versus winning is different. Jordan won the DPOY. Deal with it. LeBron didn't. Deal with it. MJ 6-6 in the finals. Deal with it. LeBron is 4-10 in the finals, or 4-6 in the finals. You gotta accept it. Winning and losing are different things.
Yes, I'm answering. You're not
He's
answering.
not listening. Yeah.
Okay? My point is that
His point
we
is
look at
Jordan did so much more in less time. End of story. LeBron has taken almost double the time and accomplished still less than Jordan did. That's the argument.
Scoring title 10-1. How do you defend that? How do you defend the fact LeBron,
Longevity
by
or
superstar standards, has always been a lousy shooter from the free throw line?
What are you
and
talking? Put the
okay,
freaking things
okay,
down, dude.
okay.
What are you talking about? A lousy shooter?
He finally figured it out at age 40? Are you
Because
kidding
you needed to
me?
rely. He used to be the greatest athlete in the history of organized competition.
Jordan's 84.
See, they all get so emotional and need to walk away. All these dudes are used to the internet. They're not used to in-person, like face-to-face conversations. These guys get emotional and just, he's mentally like throwing the phone right now in anger. It's like he's on Reddit or something. No, this is a real human in front of you. You gotta take the hits. But have you guys noticed? They're all running away. They all get emotional and then they walk away. Man, future society is doomed.
So you like to bring up longevity, but LeBron, I believe, is the youngest player to score any point from 2,000 points to 3,000 points to 40,000 points. That's crazy. We can bring up already being the best old player in the league, but you yourself and no one says, what is LeBron's best attribute? He's never been a scorer. He's probably a passer. He's a scorer that can score at all three levels. He can dunk. He's got unbelievable post moves. He can shoot from three. Watch his logo three-pointer highlights. He can do fadeaways.
No, he's a scorer. This is why he's a scorer. He's got the most points of all time. He does not have the most assists of all time. So if he was a pass first dude, then he would obviously own that over the scoring one. So Bron fans wanna harp on the fact that LeBron's got the most points of all time. Stick with it. Then he's a scorer. He's a score first guy. So that when it comes to 5 seconds left to win a game and LeBron doesn't want the ball in his hands, obviously he's not a good score first guy if that's a scenario.
Shoot with his left and his right hand. So why are we not bringing up a whole other angle of basketball where he's passing and he's top 4 all time in assists while being first in points? That's kind of like Wayne Gretzky almost.
Okay, but he's a 35% career three-point shooter. That ranks 361st in NBA history.
Right.
If you want to rank it, that's poor. That by his standards.
Yeah, that's fair in a three-point era because LeBron is playing in a three-point era. So that is as important as comparing Jordan's 51% average usually. It dropped down to 50 at the end of it. But Jordan was shooting better than all of his competition. Field goals, because that's what mattered back then. People weren't shooting a lot of threes at all. So if you were the best in the league at twos, then that's it. You're the best. You're the best offensive player at that point. But LeBron, until the last 2 years, has been terrible from three. So it's a good point there.
This year, he's shooting 38% from three, 78% from the free throw line. So the 38% from the free throw line ranks 66th right now in the NBA. Well, that's not very good. And we're like, wow, LeBron, you're actually way improved than what you used to be. Over time, it just seems like if you last 22 years that you'd get in the lab, as LeBron says, in the offseason, and by year 3 or 4, you'd at least make yourself into an 80% free throw shooter because he's never even gone above 80%. Jordan career was 84%, and he was just pretty good from the free throw line, but good enough. He was 10 points better than LeBron has been for his career.
Right.
So over time, it disqualifies everything you're bringing to the table because you just have to admit, by superstar standards, he's actually a poor free throw shooter and a poor three-point shooter.
Was Shaquille O'Neal a good free throw shooter?
Okay, but he's 7'1" or whatever he was.
LeBron
right?
6'9". So
no,
let me ask
one's
you,
ever making the case for Shaq being the greatest of all time over Michael Jordan.
worth more points in basketball, making a free throw or hitting a three-pointer?
Okay.
I think Michael Jordan shot in under 30% from three in his career. I think at least 3 times.
33. Okay.
That's
okay.
horrible.
So you want to compare Shaq against LeBron? I think that's more fair than comparing LeBron against Jordan. They got the same amount of championships. They both had a lot of help along the way. Yeah, I think it's fair. both terrible free throw shooters. Yeah, just stop comparing LeBron to Jordan. But yeah, compare him to Shaq. That would be a better argument. Or better yet, compare him to Kareem. That's the best argument, I think.
Point was they did not prioritize the three-point shot. He averaged in his career attempts 120 a year, Michael Jordan.
Right.
LeBron averages 390 attempts because he's a high-volume three-point shooter. And I can make the case that before this year, he has hurt your teams. Hurt your teams by taking way
Never
too
hurt
many
my
threes.
teams, that's for sure. But
Well, okay.
all right, appreciate it.
All right, way to go. Way to go.
All right, so our topic right now is focused on longevity. That's what you said. You said everyone's pointing at longevity, but I want to point at something differently. Let's talk about physicality and athleticism. You've already admitted in our other topics that from a physicality standpoint, LeBron is second to none. He is the strongest person to move at that pace that we've seen on the basketball court pretty much ever.
I mean, that doesn't make him a tough guy, but I'll give you that he was born with all that.
Those
I
gifts
got it.
that allow him to essentially move at a different pace than other basketball players.
And I like that Skip said that. LeBron is one of the strongest players we've ever seen. But, yeah, it doesn't make him tough. I would have loved to see him in the 80s because then we'd see if he's tough. It's just a matter of because he couldn't sit there crying on the hardwood for 5 minutes at a time like he does nowadays. And, like, they just stopped the game for him. That crap would not happen back then. So if you got down on the ground, you got to get your ass right back up. I'd like to see if LeBron could have done it because then we get to gauge his toughness level. Because what his toughness is showing us right now is that he's not very tough. He gets hit by thin air, and then he's like holding his face like it's on fire on the ground, crying, basically. Like, and he does it over and over and over again. That's not a tough guy, but he's physically strong for sure.
That's what I want to cling to when I talk about now who's better than who.
You guys ever see that big jacked up dude? You know, looks like he lives in a gym. He's a freaking monster physically. But the first thing that like hits his emotions, like he gets sad about something, he just starts crying like a baby. Like that's what I see LeBron as, a big, jacked up, juiced up dude who's really, really, really emotional.
You have this, and then you also make the point that his improvement throughout his career is an indictment on him for not being able to do it sooner. I make the case to say he's improved every season to get better, to become the person that he needs to become, the GOAT that he needs to be. And that, to me, is that's not an indictment.
What's
that's
he
like,
improved?
you give credit when someone improves their ability through it.
But the only thing he improved is his three-point shot because it's mandatory. He didn't improve his free throws. His defense got worse.
2 years.
It's not like, hey, Skip, it's not like he was shooting 10% from three and 50 from the free throw line. That's not what was going on. He was still ranging around a passable number.
In the last 10 years, he's had 3 sub-70s from the free throw line. Okay? That's not... You're better than that.
Yeah.
You got to be better.
No, that's like Will Chamberlain, Shaq, Dwight Howard, Ben Wallace range at that point. That's bad. Like below 70%. Wow.
One of my other debaters' points, free throws are a single point shot. And when you look at his other
but when you're the greatest driver of the basketball,
you go to the line a lot.
You need to cash because they are called free throws for a reason because they are free. You can go up there. Think of all the points
Skip, I'm
you
not
left
gonna
on
lie.
the table.
If I knew I was going to sit here and talk about LeBron's 75% or 70 from the free throw line, and that's the deciding factor on whether he's the GOAT or not, that's not what I thought we were going to be debating. I'm not going to lie to you. So, like to the point.
Counts.
Of course it counts. Of course it counts. But it is a component of the rest of the argument, and we've all been here making our points as to why we feel he is where he's supposed to be. Free throws, really? That's what you're going to cling to, Skip? Come on, man. We can do better than that.
All right, I'm going to
once again. They're not making the argument that he's top 10. They're making the argument that he's the greatest of all time. So all of it matters. We dissect all of what Michael Jordan did, and that's why he's the GOAT. Because and we're doing the same thing with LeBron. We're dissecting it so we understand it. We understand his full game. And we see that he comes up short in a lot of categories. Just like Ray Allen said, is he the best free throw shooter? No. Does he have the best handles? No. Is he the best three-point shooter? No. Is he the best defender? No. So and how could he be the greatest of all time if he's not the greatest at anything?
Your first point.
Go ahead.
Biggest, baddest, strongest, all those things. You got me. There's never been a package like that attacking the basket. But I'm going to go off the grid here a little bit. Just trust me on this. In a fist fight, if I got Michael Jordan against LeBron James, Michael's at 6'6", I don't know what he weighed, maybe in the end 215-ish, something like that. LeBron's at 260-ish. I'll take Michael any day or any night in a fist fight.
Skip, that is
in
insane.
a fist fight, I got the GOAT. I got Jordan. He's the baddest man who ever stepped
put it
on
in
a
the comments. Put it in the comments who you got in a fist fight. I got MJ all day. MJ's this fucking psycho. You know, so if it comes down to blows, MJ gonna whoop some ass. LeBron, come on, man. We've seen him take hits. What's it look like when he takes a hit? Huh? He flies back about 8 feet and he starts crying. So, yeah, I'd rather go MJ. MJ showed us on the court that he's tough. He takes the hit, he gets up, he gets in people's faces. You know, he doesn't sit there and cry and ask for pity. But LeBron is always crying, asking for pity, playing the pity card, and it's, no, he ain't a fighter.
Someone here was talking about you and clip farming, and that sounds like a clip farm, my guy. Come on here.
I think I got you on that one.
No, yeah. Skip got him on that one.
All right, way to
That's
go.
a funny one. All right. Holy crap, how long is this video by now?
LeBron James was born without a clutch gene.
That's
Who
a
would
good
like
one.
to try me on this one?
Oh, man. Oh, boy. All right, let's talk clutch.
Fire away.
Born without a clutch gene.
Yeah.
I have 3 examples for you. 1, 2009 Eastern Conference Finals against the Orlando Magic. 5 seconds on the clock, pass it in bounds, shoot, buzzer-beating score.
I think it was 1 second on
1
the
second
clock.
on the clock.
Yes,
Even better,
yes.
even more clutch. Thank you for proving my point.
Yeah.
That's example 1.
It was actually disproving your point because it was the classic case of LeBron didn't have to make that decision of should I drive it and risk having to go to the free throw line? I'll just catch it and shoot it.
That's true.
And Hito Turkoglu is guarding him, and they're remember, Cleveland's down 2 at this point. So you have to make a 3 to win the game. And Hito lets LeBron catch it and shoot. You just face guard, like get up in him. Don't let him catch the ball in bounds because he doesn't have to think it's going to be, I got to just shoot it. And he made it. It was the shot heard around the world. And then what happened? He disappeared right on schedule. They lose in 6. They always lost in 6. All right, go
That's
ahead.
the important thing. If you're really that clutch, win the series.
Example number 2.
All right.
2013 Eastern Conference Finals against the Indiana Pacers. Overtime, to the rim, to the rack, score, layup for the win.
Wait, what year?
They lose in 6. They always
Finals.
All right, go ahead.
All right, example number 2.
All right.
2013 Eastern Conference
So
Finals.
you got to skip ahead 5 years to get to his next clutch moment.
Against the Indiana Pacers. Overtime, to the rim, to the rack, score, layup for the win.
Left-handed layup. You're going to take that?
Yeah.
Does that qualify as a buzzer beater? A left-handed
Yes,
layup?
how does it not?
Okay.
That's another clutch.
I might have made that shot, but go ahead.
I mean, that's a debate in its own
I
self.
guess Shaq is clutch too then. Because remember that series against Portland in the conference finals with the Lakers? Kobe threw up an alley-oop to Shaq to close out the game and close out the series, essentially. I guess that like him jumping up and dunking the ball, I guess that makes him clutch, bro. According to LeBron fans. Man, Shaq is pretty clutch, then.
I'll give you that.
Clutch number 3, we brought it up before. The block heard around the world on Iguodala on his fucking head.
Okay, but it didn't win the
didn't.
game. It didn't close it out. It wasn't a buzzer-beating block.
But is it not still a
game
clutch
saving?
play?
It was. I don't know. Is that a clutch play to chase somebody down and block it after J.R. Smith cuts him off at the pass and Iguodala has to sort of change his dribble? He was going to go up and dunk it, and J.R. Smith runs underneath him. Good play, which allowed LeBron to catch up and leap and blindside block it. It's a ambush block from
I'll
behind.
give it to him again. That was a clutch defensive play by LeBron, led or followed by a very, very clutch offensive play by Kyrie Irving. So It is what it is. I'm not going to discredit that one. Skip is, but I'm not going to discredit that one.
Okay? I don't call that clutch.
It was all right.
He played hard. He always plays hard. I give you that. Aren't you supposed to?
I
Right?
mean, obviously you're supposed to, but it's in those defining moments where their back's against the wall and you're putting up a fucking block or a shot, whatever it is.
Let me do this. Let me bring it more into the present. Let's just go back a couple of years to the Western Conference Finals against the Denver Nuggets. Again, the Lakers got swept, but what happened in those 4 games? I want somebody here to disprove me on this one, because all 4 times the game is close and winnable for the Lakers. The second 2 at home, the last 2 at home. And what happens in those combined 4 fourth quarters? LeBron shot 7 of 23, 1 of 10 from 3, and in the closeout game 4 in his new house in LA, he had 2 shots to tie in the last 10 seconds of the game and got neither of them up to the rim. Well, the clutch gene, I mean, that's horrendous. And then let's fast forward to last year's playoffs against Denver. This was in the first round, obviously. Game 1, go look at it. In the fourth quarter, he's upset by all the criticism that he took for failing so badly, epic fails in the 4 fourth quarters, that he pouts in the Game 1 fourth quarter and refuses to shoot until the game's completely out of hand. And then in Game 2, help me out with this one. Last few seconds of the game, maybe 5 seconds left, he's got a 3. He pushed off just the way Jordan pushed off in Game 6 at Utah on Jamal Murray, and he goes up for a wide open 3 to win the basketball game, and he LeBricks it because he just doesn't make those shots.
I made a short video about that one. It was great. That was my favorite video I ever did that got copyright struck by the NBA, and I just did it, and I was laughing the whole way. Like, it was just so worth it.
Would have been that would have made it 1-1 at that point. That was a huge shot that he gagged because that's what he's done his whole career.
I was watching that one with my buddies too. That was great. That was a great time.
Those kinds of shots. I'm sorry.
And then Jamal Murray
You
comes
keep
back
saying,
and shows what's
I don't
actually
call that
clutch.
Clutch. What do you call clutch? So we're on the same page. What is, you're saying he's not, what is clutch?
Clutch is Michael Jordan winning the NCAA championship with a walk-off shot. Clutch is Michael Jordan beating Craig Elo and the Cavaliers in the deciding Game 5 with a walk-off shot. Clutch is winning the NBA Finals in Game 6 at Utah by stealing the ball, dribbling the length of the court, and going up and holding the pose on a walk-off shot. Those are clutch.
It's all walk-off shots for you. It's not about a full playoff performance, because you also just said, speaking of the 09 Magic series, he averaged 39, 9, and 9 in that series. 39, 9, and 9, and they lost. I would love after this, maybe we could go get a drink together. We could go watch the highlights of that series.
Remember,
you're talking about the last shots.
That was supposed to be LeBron versus Kobe, the whole build-up.
He averaged 39, 9, and 9, Skip. Why is that his fault? Clutch performance is not 1 minute of a game. It's not 1 second. He has played. We were listing, our friends over there listed some great clutch.
It's not clutch unless you win. That's the whole point. You have to win, or else it doesn't matter. We don't remember the last second shots that don't lead to a win. You have to win for it to be clutch. Besides, clutch is the more pressure that you have, the better you play, or at least the more pressure you have, you still play your average. That's what clutch is. Clutch means I am not scared. I am not rattled by my emotions. I am composed no matter what. That's what clutch is.
Performances.
And LeBron is called the choke for a reason, because the more pressure is on him, the worse it gets. Even in the regular season, his fourth quarters are worse than his first 3 quarters. He usually just goes because there's more pressure in the fourth. He does this more in the playoffs, and the deeper in the playoffs it goes, the more likely he is to choke. In the finals, he's highly likely to choke. That's the opposite of clutch. That means the more pressure that's on, the more it affects him, and the more, you know, his production goes down because of that effect of that pressure.
About shots at the end of the game, and again, if that's what you want to talk about, he has more, so we can end the debate there.
That's
what
the
about
definition
LeBron?
of clutch.
So the performance, a full playoff run where he fucking. Do you remember against the Celtics Game 6, 2012, is back against the wall, down 3-2. That coming off 2011, which was terrible, right? What did he do? He couldn't miss in the first. I think he missed 1 shot in the first half. Go watch that first half highlights.
That was a good game, clutch game For sure. That's one.
How about
First
coming
half,
off
45
2010 against the Celtics, winning games 4, 5, and 6? It got so bad that somebody from his inner circle had to plant with Stephen A. that he had to be sedated in the locker room because he was having a
And
before those
that's
games.
the whole
because
thing right there. For every one example that LeBron fans can think of that makes LeBron clutch, everyone else we can think of 5 other examples that prove that he's a choker. Can't do that with MJ. We just can't, you know? And I mean, we could do that with guys like Steph. You know, Magic choked once in the finals. But like MJ's the one dude, like we don't have that example. We have those examples with Kobe too, where it was questionable, like, did you quit? You know, when he was younger, there was a lot of these things. Most players do have these stains. That's what makes Jordan so great and so hard to dethrone at the top of this mountain. Because we don't have these examples. I watched his whole career. I can't think of any example like this where he just choked. He's lost, he's won, but he never choked.
You have an issue with a teammate, Delonte West.
So this is a fun thing. I
Way
just
to go.
said a point, and now you're bringing up something completely unrelated because
No.
you don't have an answer for that. 2018 LeBronto, right? He ended that team had a pretty nice run for a couple.
LeBronto?
You never heard that?
Yeah, but I
You
know,
got your phone,
but you're bringing me Toronto.
Right.
So who does it matter? You're bringing me. Are you? Who's the guy you listed that he hit a shot over? I don't know who that guy is.
It was the Eastern Conference in those days. Those
Because
are
everyone was-
shameful opponents.
So do you think it's a-
Paul George's Indiana?
One second for
Is that
you.
credible?
1 second. So after the year after LeBron left, it was almost like all these East teams started building now. It was almost like, I don't know, he's really good and nobody wanted to really contend because like there was no point because they were going to the playoffs or the finals every single year. Was that like a coincidence, you think, that the East got like way better after he left?
You know what?
It was a coincidence.
You know what? Speaking of clutch, I even got to throw this at you. Let's keep
More
it
buzz.
somewhat in the present because even
love the present.
this year against Charlotte at home after they acquired Luka Doncic, this is one of the first Luka games.
Yeah, I watched it.
LeBron gets 2 3-point shots, pretty open, pretty good looks.
Okay.
To tie the game, and LeBricks both of them. And I'm like, you can't even do it against Charlotte?
He had his
really?
most.
They
one
lost
second,
to
one
Charlotte
second.
at home.
He had his most. The most he ever spoke in an interview. You'd probably agree with Pat Mac. The most open he was, not on the shop, not on anything that's his own platform, was the McAfee interview, right? Stephen A. Smith, good friend of yours, right? 6 weeks prior, right, they had the interaction after the game, which, first of all, if that was Jordan, you would be my uncle would still be talking about it to this day. Oh, that's the clutch gene. His biggest stop, he called him out, and then he went in, walked down his favorite team. In the middle of the game, he walks up to him, he goes back out, leads a comeback, walks down his favorite team right in front of his face. Stephen A. goes on a
ambush
press tour
anybody.
6 weeks after that, and then on the McAfee show, there's 90 seconds. You can time it. 90 seconds from the moment Stephen A.'s name comes up to the moment they move on. Stephen A. that night puts out a 55-minute response to him on his YouTube. Within 2 hours of that happening, LeBron James hit a buzzer beater versus the Pacers. 2 weeks left in the NBA
Wait, the
season.
buzzer beater?
And that's why I don't stand up for Stephen A. Smith, because he loved all of this. He's loving all of this because he monetized the hell out of it. You know, video after video after video, covering it all over the place. Like you said, like 50-something minute videos that are just based on this. You know, making himself into a victim. He was talking crazy, like, oh, if he wanted to go to blows, I would have fought him, blah, 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 blah. Shut up, dude. Stop. You know? But that's all it is. It's not really like it wasn't really a man-to-man situation. It was like, hey, who can get the most clout out of this situation? And that's why, like, Stephen A., I don't trust his ass. Same way I don't trust LeBron.
Literal sense it was. I deal in the reality.
See, once again, it happened though. Like, look at this. Like, he's about to crash out from a Reddit, like a Reddit post. You know.
NBA
Wait, the
season,
buzzer
a massive-
beater?
In a literal sense, it was. I deal in the reality. What's a buzzer beater?
See, they get emotional, they yell, and then they walk away. It just shows like the emotional immaturity going on here. Well, poor Skip. He's just sitting here, just getting punches thrown at him left and right, and he's just doing his best. This is great. It just shows how different generations are emotionally, and how they deal with their emotions, and dare I say, tame their emotions instead of having crazy outbursts. Oh, this guy. Okay,
here
so
we go again.
he's 2 for 2. He gets angry and then he runs away. So let's see if it's 3 and 3. This guy again.
I'm glad to hear you don't like to see me coming up here. That makes me feel good, Skip. I appreciate that.
I was actually looking forward to it, but go ahead.
Even better. So I want you to rank. I know you're obsessed with this clutch gene. You're obviously obsessed with LeBron. That's why we're here. Duke, all-time choke job a couple days ago. You tie it back to LeBron. The sun comes out, you tie it back to LeBron. We have a rainy day, it's LeBron's fault. Everything's LeBron's fault. All right, so you're saying he doesn't have the clutch gene. Can you rank these 3 players in your mind who is the most to least clutch? Jordan, Kobe, LeBron.
He literally put it in the right order, I think. I would go Jordan, Kobe, LeBron. Yep.
You just did it.
So that's what you
Did
think?
it. Thank you.
So now my follow-up to that, can you tell me which percentage here is higher? 53, 47, 23. Which of those is the highest? Which is higher?
Well, obviously. Go ahead. Okay, we get it.
I don't know the answer.
Yeah, you do. Okay, and those numbers are tied to what and whom?
So when we're talking clutch, last 10 seconds of a playoff game, would you say that maybe those 10 seconds are kind of important, maybe the time to be clutch? LeBron's field goal percentage, 53%. Jordan's, 47%.
Okay.
Kobe's, 23%.
What's the scenario, though? Did you guys catch it? He's only tracking the last 10 seconds of a game. It doesn't mean that any of these shots lead to wins.
So how are these 2 guys who are just factually less efficient in the clutch, born with this so-called clutch gene that you
means
just
you could
make?
be down by 20 and the shot clock is running down. You take a shot. LeBron takes a shot with 3 seconds left on the clock, cuts the lead down to 18. 3 seconds later, the game is over. That would go into his category of clutch, which I think is horseshit.
Pick up, pull out of thin air. How are they more clutch when factually they're not?
Okay.
No. Come on, Shills.
In late
Think
and
for
close
yourselves.
situations, since
Look at
LeBron
his
came
literal
into
echo chamber. By the way, look at his literal echo chamber. Yeah, rabble. Ask questions, man. You know, did those were those last second situations that led to a victory in the playoff or not?
to the league, he is worst. In late and close free throw line situations, LeBron is the worst since he walked onto an NBA floor. That's all I know. So I'm not sure where you're getting your hocus pocus numbers. But
I can break it down for you.
Yeah.
It's playoff games, 10 seconds left,
Okay.
game tying or game winning field goal attempts.
Okay.
Would you say that maybe that fits under the clutch criteria?
yeah, I know every one that he's made. I got it. It's 9-8 Jordan in walk-off shots, but that's regular and playoffs. 9-8. But again, show me one that mattered, that had magnitude to it, and you won't be able to because there's not one.
Not one that mattered
No, that
with
really-
magnitude?
that ended a series.
That
Show
ended
me
a
one that
series.
ended-
Beyond that, show me one that won the NBA Finals like we have MJ. You know, we don't have that moment with LeBron.
When he won 12 years without losing a
Once again, he gets up and walks away.
All right.
Once again, he gets up and walks away. So this is the problem I'm seeing, and this is why this is actually really cool. Reacting to this with you guys is really, really cool because I'm visually seeing something that I don't get to see on the internet, which is the pattern here. Everybody says what they want to say, and then while Skip is making a rebuttal, see?
Ended
me
a
one that
series.
ended a
LeBron he won 12 years without losing a
Yep.
win or go home.
Instead of allowing your opponent to have a rebuttal, which is what it is, you throw a punch, I throw a punch, we see who wins, they get up and walk away. And they think they win because of doing that. So it's like, I don't even know. Like if I was in like a Reddit fight or something with somebody online and I just like dropped a nuke, like a paragraph, and then I never check it again and I never respond to anything again and I never even read the replies, and I feel like a champion, like I just won something. That's kind of embarrassing. That's really embarrassing. But yeah, I'm getting a visual for it that I didn't have before. I could only see this online in text form and see the words that are being said, but now I get it. They're throwing the punch and then they run away. Which
Skip,
means
I'm
that
back.
they don't really believe in it, because if they believed in it, they'd stand there and fight.
You know, you're here arguing about the clutch gene, and I'm willing to admit that. As long as you're willing to admit that Michael Jordan isn't a winner without Scottie Pippen and Phil Jackson. Jordan's best record on the Bulls without them. Do you know what it is by chance?
His best record without
On the Bulls,
them
without
on the
either
Bulls.
without either one.
Well, it wouldn't be very good.
I'll give you a hint. It's below 500.
Yeah.
It's below 500. My GOAT took his team to the finals by himself at age 22, where Jordan couldn't even go by himself. He needs Scottie Pippen. The Bulls never had a losing season after Scottie Pippen.
Okay, let me ask
Once
you
again,
this.
went to the finals. Cool. Jordan took the Bulls to the playoffs every single year. LeBron didn't do that.
Even the year when we know LeBron got in trouble for
Because
gambling.
we're not talking
guess
about
what?
winning, right? We're just talking about getting there. So, there, yeah, cool. The amount of accolades we can give Jordan if we considered all of his failures, successes, is insane.
Guess what their record was? Only 2 games worse than the year before.
Okay.
But continue. What do you got?
Okay, so against the Celtics in Michael Jordan's second year when they got swept, who played better in that series versus LeBron's versus the Spurs in the 07 finals? Which player played better?
So, sorry,
Jordan
we're comparing
or
a
LeBron?
first-round
Jordan
series
versus
versus an NBA Finals.
We're comparing a series against.
That's what we're comparing.
Against an
series
86
that
Boston
series
Celtics
that
that a
Jordan
lot of
lost.
people thought was the
A
best
series that
team
Jordan
ever.
lost.
Yeah, he's not
versus a
listening. He's
dynasty
saying that year the Spurs were the best team in the league. And then same thing, the Celtics in 86 were the best team in the league. So yeah, let's compare them. How did Jordan do? How did LeBron do? One choked, one went out guns blazing.
Spurs team in the final.
Both of them swept.
You know what?
right?
Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
You know what? I'll give it to you. Jordan
I'm a
played
Sp-
great
okay,
in that game.
I'm a
Not in
Spurs
that game,
fan.
in that whole
I'm a
series.
Spurs fan. And that 86 Boston Celtics team
Is better? Okay.
Better
Like,
than
yeah,
the
because when are
07
we going to see that, Skip? When are we going to see that matchup? What are you talking? We're talking first round versus finals. Jordan has never been able to win without the help of
Look at this guy back
the
here. He's
greatest
like, yeah, we're winning. I don't really see it.
coach of all time. So also, even in college, he had the greatest basketball coach of all time. The greatest college basketball coach of all time. Maybe, unless you want to say John Wooden, sure. Not here to debate college.
Okay, he won
Once
the
again,
championship.
LeBron had Spo. LeBron tried to get Spo fired. When LeBron couldn't get Spo fired after enough years, he left. So, yes, LeBron has had great coaches, but he gets them fired because LeBron thinks he's the La coach, and he's also the La GM. These are jokes for a reason. Jordan, he respected people. Even with Jerry Krause being the GM and he hated him, he allowed him to do his job. He didn't interfere. Phil Jackson, he didn't like Phil Jackson at first, but he never got in his way. He allowed Phil Jackson to coach. And because he allowed him to coach, we declare him as possibly the greatest coach of all time. Now, imagine if he was a rookie, because he was a rookie. He'd never been a head coach in the NBA up until the point where he coached Michael Jordan and with the Bulls. Remember that. He never coached in the NBA. Like, he was just an assistant coach. So this is his first head coach job in the NBA. If Jordan was like LeBron, he would have got him fired and been like, give me someone with experience in here. You know, I'm putting up with this shit. But no. So, and the point I bring that up is Phil probably would have not got another job because that would have looked bad. First year coaching, you get fired, you know, not a good look. So basically, if Jordan was more like LeBron, then we wouldn't know Phil Jackson as we know him now because he would have just been, a lot less than Doug Collins because Doug Collins coached a lot more than Phil Jackson would have if he was fired in the first season. Anyways, that's my rant there. There are coaches that LeBron played for that are still fantastic coaches to this day, but they're not coaching LeBron because either he got them fired or he ran away. That's the thing. Jordan stayed put and he accepted, his coach. Therefore, They built a team around it, and yeah, we got possibly the greatest coach of all time.
Yep.
Yeah, as a freshman with James Worthy too. Yeah.
You just
Great.
sweep that under the
But
carpet,
no, I mean,
right?
you're forgetting these key parts about his career.
Okay, what was the
best college-
classic line about Dean Smith? The classic line was, only one man in college could stop Michael Jordan, and that was Dean Smith, because he didn't feature him. He didn't play to his strengths. It's why Jordan went 3rd overall in the draft, which you look back at it, you say, what? Wait a second, Akeem, and I love Akeem, but over Michael Jordan and Sam Bowie, it was just a big swing and a miss. But the point was, we couldn't even see Jordan coming because he was so handicapped by his head coach.
He was still a
at
top
Carolina.
3 pick. It's not like he was some up and coming, like sneaky. It wasn't like Jokic where his drafting during a quesadilla commercial. Like,
Okay, but nobody saw this coming.
I'll give you that. I'll give you to that
not until
extent.
the
Yes.
'84 Olympics. No one had any idea what was coming.
But I really, truly believe that Jordan, if you isolate the years without the greatest basketball coach of all time and the greatest second man, he's not a winner.
Okay.
I'm not denying his greatness during that 8-year gap where he was gambling in between too.
So why you gotta bring up the gambling though? What's the gambling have to do with the winning? Why? What's with that little jab there? Because it's not even related.
LeBron has shown that he can have success.
You want me to say
as an
like
individual.
every time LeBron's had success, like, oh yeah, he was pretty good in 2020 minus all the flopping. You know, it's the same idea. If you're gonna give him credit, just give him credit.
And with an amazing team.
Okay. I give you Phil Jackson because he was great for Michael Jordan. He was so great that when they pushed Phil out the back door in favor of Tim Floyd, Michael said, I'm telling you, you do it, I'm gone. And he walked into the sunset and stayed in the sunset for 3 years. The backside of his prime, he gave up in loyalty
Yes.
to his coach. Well, that's a huge thing. And he got forced out for a year and plus because he was gambling.
Hell, that
is-
could be
yeah, that's-
another category in here. Loyalty. Completely different careers between LeBron and MJ. Completely different decisions.
That's the truth. Okay, you got it.
Good.
And there was a
Good.
lot of unsavory going on that we can't get into the gory details, but you got me, okay?
Good.
But it
Glad I
wasn't
got
like
you.
he quit on his team. He got forced out.
Yeah, by his own actions, though. It was his own decisions to. That's why LeBron will always be LeBron values and treasures the game of basketball so much that he would never jeopardize his legacy or the entire league itself to gamble or do something where Jordan's all about himself. That's why LeBron is the GOAT. LeBron is for everybody.
Balco.
Of the game of basketball, of the NBA. Jordan is for himself.
Jordan is for himself. I thought all that proves that LeBron is for himself, but maybe that's just the points that I'm making that's not being heard in this. Because if you do all these, you have no loyalty. You abandon your team whenever it's not benefiting you, so you're not there for any of the hard times. That is not being for the team. That means the team don't matter. It's all about himself, which is LeBron James and what's best for LeBron James. I don't get what he's saying right here.
Well, of the NBA, Jordan is for himself.
Jordan is for the team. Man, I'm getting. I got to get through this.
That was funny.
Looks like
That
we're
is
out of
funny.
town.
Jordan is for the team, obviously, because you break up his team and he's going to leave. LeBron is for himself. He's the one who breaks up all of his teams and leaves.
Yeah, appreciate it, man.
What the fuck? What is this? All right, round 6. What's this one going to be?
LeBron has always been a poor shooter by superstar standards.
Everyone's going to talk the last 2 years. This is going to get boring. So I'm not going to jump into it. LeBron has always been a bad shooter. The last 2 years, he's improved his shot, especially his outside shot. They're going to go percentages, but the majority of LeBron's shots are within 4 feet of the basket. So, that's like Shaq range. So, yeah, Shaq has a good shooting percentage too. So that's how this is going to go. But the eye test is what shows you where is he shooting from and is he hitting mid-ranges, all that stuff. If you actually watched the game, you'd see it. All right, I'm going to let this one kind of play out.
Oh, yeah.
Here we go.
They're going to strike me anyways.
I'm okay.
Okay, so we're talking superstar standard as far as shooting, but we do consider Michael Jordan a superstar. But the fact that we don't we discount the fact that LeBron James has a higher effective field goal percentage and an effective three-point percentage
despite the fact that LeBron shot 800 additional threes versus Michael Jordan in his career. We have higher volume, we have higher
But again,
efficiency.
in Michael's day, nobody valued the three-point shot at all. It was not prioritized. It was not emphasized. Nobody cared. It was an after-shot thought. And in LeBron's day,
It's
it
the
is
shot.
the shot.
Correct.
That's why I said
it is
compare Jordan's ability to score 2 points, like mid-ranges, versus his competition back then, versus LeBron being able to hit the three ball versus his competition in this era. That's where the argument should be, because the game is played completely different. The 2 ball was prioritized back then. The 3 ball is prioritized now. Let's keep it apples and apples.
Actually transcended the slam dunk is the biggest momentum switcher in a basketball game is the three-point shot.
100%. But that also means that if LeBron was playing back during his Jordan days, he would not be shooting nearly as many threes, and suddenly he'd have a higher field goal percentage back in the 80s and 90s than he does today. Because instead of shooting it from 26 feet out, he'd be prioritizing those 18-foot elbow jumpers.
Yeah,
the
he's
fact,
terrible
the fact here is
at an 18-foot elbow jumper.
that we've got a guy with more volume and more efficiency, which, according to any specific metric, is going to give you a
Jordan
better
wins
shooter.
all the
On top of
efficiency
that,
metrics.
if we're talking about superstar standards, we can't be talking about Steph Curry, because Steph Curry is the greatest shooter of all time. And then we get into this weird period where we can either look at players as pure three-point shooters, players who make their living getting to the basket, or players who straddle the middle. And typically the players who play really well straddling the middle are the ones who rise to the top and end up being the face of the league at any given time. The fact that LeBron James has a higher a higher field goal percentage when he takes it to the rack, given the fact that, once again, he's built like Adonis and no one can stop him. He's built like a power forward and a center, even though the fact that he's as fast as a point guard. However, if we start to move him back, he has
strong of a case as him being the best driver of all time. Can someone look it up and let me know in the comments who has a better shooting percentage? Is it Giannis or is it LeBron? Because I'm kind of betting it's Giannis. I think he's better at driving the ball than LeBron, if this is all we're talking about. But I think both of them would struggle getting away with that in the 90s when Jordan was doing it. Basically, the physicality, the offensive fouls that were called back then would have been a huge stint in both of their strategies of just go right down the middle. But if LeBron's the best of all time at getting to the basket, and these guys love their stats so much, I'm curious, does Giannis have a better shooting percentage?
a higher field goal percentage from a
the best of all time or whatever.
Point standpoint than any real superstar who is not known specifically for being a three-point shooter. When you add all of those up, plus the overall well-roundedness of his game, it's very difficult to make the opposites.
Okay. 35% career from three. It ranks 361st all time.
So where's Jordan on that list?
Jordan didn't prioritize. Jordan didn't care. But trust me on this. If Jordan had played today, he would have gotten in his lab after his second year in the league, and he would have taught himself a three-point shot that would have been a 38% career three-point shot, because that's what he was.
Absolutely. Yeah, if Jordan played in the modern era, he'd have to. Everyone has to. Even centers have to shoot threes now. So obviously he would have worked on it.
By that standard, that means Michael Jordan would have had a higher three-point percentage today than he did back then, because he would have prioritized it. But once again, because now we're moving him from 18-foot elbow shots back there, his overall effective field goal percentage, which to this day is lower than LeBron, also goes down.
No, because now you clear out the lane and you make a clear path to the lane like we do now with all the spacing, and then he's got a higher percentage when he attacks the basket.
Those mid-rangers that he made his entire career off of, you're pushing him back 10 feet.
Okay, all he did was win 10 scoring titles in 11 full seasons. That's all he did. You want to talk about dominating?
See, that's my problem with Skip a little bit, is like he's not going direct. He's not directly combating the statements that are being made.
And don't tell me there weren't great players in that era, because there were a bunch of them.
Amazing. The problem is that when you take a look at all of the top scorers in those era versus the top scorers today, what Michael Jordan didn't go against is he didn't go against the James Harden who's foul baiting so he can make sure that he gets 35 points a game. He wasn't going against the Luka Doncic of the world.
Could you imagine Michael Jordan in today's game with the foul baiting rules that there are? How much he could take advantage of it?
the overall scoring from the entirety of the league is now up. So suddenly back in a world where Michael Jordan was winning all of these scoring titles, he was doing so because the gap between what he was scoring and the rest of the league was so much wider than it is today. LeBron
I would combat
instead,
against that too, because back then the overall scoring was much lower because defense was much tougher. So it was really good to average 25 a game, 22 to 25, and you're like, damn, man, that's a great offensive score. To the equivalent of now, 30 is a good number, right? Because the overall scoring is increased. So those guys who were scoring 25 in the 90s are now averaging 30. That's just how the whole inflation of the scoring has led everything to. Which means if Jordan was averaging 30 back then, we could pump him up to 35, 37. I mean, and he even did average 35 and 37 in individual years back then. And those would be up into the 40s in today's game.
Decided that he's going to make a living off of really being a complete player, hence the reason why his assists are up compared to Michael Jordan's. So now all of a sudden you have a guy who is scoring at a marginally less rate, but overall is impacting more of the points per game that his team is actually scoring.
And finally, a lot of your brethren here today, your fellow blind witnesses, don't want to hear this, but it actually does count to make free throws. And wait a minute. He's a career 74% free throw shooter?
Brutal. The fact that
he's terrible.
I know. The fact that he right now is the all-time scoring leader. Imagine what happens if he raised that free throw percentage. But overall, I think there's really a case.
Yeah, he did good. He did good. I mean, as good as you can do. I would have loved to combat him, though, in case you can't tell.
Here we go. Shoot your shot.
Skip, you talk about how LeBron plays in a different league where three-pointer is prioritized, but that's not entirely true. He came into a back-to-the-basket league where centers were prioritized. Even up until 2009 when he was facing Dwight, Dwight was a top 3 player in the league, and he was the main focus of the offense. It wasn't until halfway through LeBron's career where he had to adjust to the three-pointer and the game expanding. You don't seem to give him any wiggle room on that.
Well, he's played like 40 years now, so
But if the league
crossed generations and eras, right?
If the league completely changes halfway through someone's career, and they still become and adjust to the league to what it's become, to me that speaks to the fact that not only is he an all-around player, but his shooting significantly increased.
Look, it's not his thing to do that. He's never been really good at doing that to the level he should be when you're the all-time leading scorer. It blows my mind that you're the all-time leading scorer just on longevity because you've played longer than anybody else, and you are a great basket attacker, but you can't do that to the point that even this year, again, this is my unofficial count, and I watch every game.
That's a good point Skip brings up. It would be cool to track individual games of every time LeBron takes a shot versus a layup or a dunk.
He has airballed 3 free throws this year. That's incomprehensible.
Really?
Shoots an airball from the free throw line.
3 in 1 year? Dude. All the other greats, I don't think they've ever done it once. Except for maybe like Will Chamberlain. Shaq. Has Shaq airballed? Yeah, I'm sure he has.
In Michael Jordan's career, he never airballed a free throw. I could be wrong about that. I didn't watch every game, but it's just, it should hit home to your psyche that, wait, LeBron airballed a free throw?
3 times in 1 year?
It shows you it's just not what he was born to do. So by superstar standards, it's not his game to shoot free throws. He's made himself a little bit better three-point shooter, and this year, he's a lot better three-point shooter, but it took 22 years to get there. So for your career of last year he was better. So he's been on a rise here post year 20, which is incomprehensible to me, and an indictment that you didn't get in the lab and fix your free throw and three-point shot after year 10 or 12, or to your point, when the league started to favor the three-point shot because of Steph, you got to compete. If you're the point guard or the 2 guard or whatever you are, you got to be able to shoot that shot and make it, especially under fire.
Okay, so I think the flags are basically a surrender. like you lost.
Way to go.
See, that was
Good
cool.
job.
I give him credit because he sat through Skip's rebuttal, and that's cool. That's fair game. I shoot a shot, you shoot a shot. We'll see who wins.
Yes, sir.
Skip, before I respond, do you mind my asking how you would define clutch shooting by a superstar standard? And I'm sorry, not clutch, but shooting by superstar standards.
Better than a career 74%
Just
from
say
the free throw
Ray
line.
Allen. That's, Larry Bird, Reggie Miller. That's why they define a good shooter.
That's the one.
Besides the free throw line,
Hey,
because
well,
we could
why-
probably spend all day talking.
Why
about
do we eliminate that? Because that's
Yes.
that's the milestone to me. That's the measuring stick. That's the one where I say, man, Bird and Magic were almost 90%.
That's where anybody can hit it. Anybody who's good at basketball can hit a free throw. That's the calibration point. In fact, I've used it since I was 5 years old. That's my calibration. Practice starts and ends with free throws. And, still to this day, I can go out there and hit 90%. I can. Can I do that? Can I do that with fadeaway jumpers? No, not anymore. Can I do that with three balls or any other shot? No. The highest percentage shot I ever take is a free throw. And it should be, because it's the easiest one. You're straight away. There's no one contesting your shot. All it is how do I deal with pressure? That's all a free throw represents. Can I handle the pressure? Because I'm in the spotlight. And as we know, LeBron, I bet he can actually shoot better than this. And I bet in practice he shoots much better free throws than he does in game because it's all pressure based.
Michael Jordan was 84%, 10 percentage points better than LeBron. Kevin Durant is plus 90%. So I'm saying that's how you do it when you're a star. When you get fouled, they're called free throws for a reason. You got to go make those free throws.
It's one
It's like
facet
the extra
of the game.
point
Okay.
in football, the NFL, American football. It's like the same exact thing. It's an extra point. Nothing standing in your way. Unless it gets blocked, there's no excuse for you to miss a shot. We wouldn't. You'd get fired real fast if you were missing all the extra points.
Not enough to discredit him.
You're trying to purge it. You're trying to scrub it from LeBron's record because it disqualifies him
It's
from
a
being the
consideration,
GOAT.
but it's not the only consideration.
Okay.
There's three-point shooting.
Defense.
There's shooting from 18 feet. There's shooting
Okay,
layups.
but even in
which
a
we
great
all
year-
know he does at
Okay,
a very high level, if
okay,
not the
but
best.
But does he? Because this year, he's up to 38.1% from three. That ranks 66th in the NBA. So how do I define it? Well, that's, I don't know, can I give it average? I'll give you average from there because the studs make 40 plus.
Yes.
That's how, Steph's a 44% career
In order
three-point
to be
shooter.
considered and as the greatest of all time, first you must dominate your era. If you do not dominate your era, then get out of this conversation. You don't belong there because that's the very first thing. You were the greatest of your era. Then we compare you to the greatest of other eras. We do Will Chamberlain, Kareem, Michael, Kobe, like all these guys who were the greatest in their era. First, you have to dominate your own. After that, then we compare you to the past greats. LeBron has never dominated. He's only won 4 championships. I don't understand it. So if he's that much worse of a shooter compared to his era, then, yeah, I'm sorry. You're not a good shooter, buddy.
Basketball fans, we all know when you're matching up against LeBron James in the playoffs, you are game planning. And unless he's having an off shooting night, you are not going to leave him open at the three-point line. As a superstar, that's how I
They
would
did
define
up
it.
until this season, by the way. They left him wide open at the three-point line. They dared him to shoot. Now his percentage has gone up. Now they're actually starting to get up on him a little bit.
In 2013, and I know he's improved some, but I will never forget Greg Popovich during the 2013 NBA Finals waving at his defenders.
Yeah.
Leave him,
Yeah.
leave
Sag
him
off.
alone. I'll never forget it. It's like emblazoned
You
in
said in
my psyche.
2013?
Yeah.
How'd that work out for Greg Popovich?
Okay, well,
He got his revenge
You know
in
how it
2014, so not bad. And actually, if you want to think about it, Popovich, the Spurs own LeBron 2-1. 2-1 in the finals.
worked out was that LeBron LeBricked the tying three that should have ended the game.
But what did he do the
and,
possession
And you know
before?
what Greg Popovich did? He had pulled, for reasons unfathomable to me, he had pulled Tim Duncan from the game at that point.
I still don't know why either.
That's your guy, by the way, we're talking about.
Chris Bosh was able to run out and track down that offense, that long rebound from the LeBrick shot.
And the only reason that rebound matters is because LeBron scored 16 in that quarter, including the three before that possession to even make the shot worth anything.
Okay. By
if
the way,
LeBron misses that three, Ray Allen hits it, they're still going home. The series is over.
The same LeBron who had an unforced error turnover at 40 seconds in that game and at 20 seconds in that game, which is why the team that I was rooting for, the San Antonio Spurs, should have closed that deal, and they did not.
I know.
Danny
Popovich,
Green,
he's one of the greatest coaches of all time easily. Man, he messed that up. Leave Tim Duncan out there, man. He could have got that rebound. Get that rebound over Bosh. Series is over.
stayed in Popovich's doghouse because he, on the 1-3 that LeBron made late in that game, Danny Green took off to cherry pick for a layup.
We're arguing minute semantics, but really that LeBron three, we're holding him to a standard, a superstar shooting standard. He looked like a superstar when he hit that three to get them within one possession of that game. His team made a play the next that won that game, that won that series. If that's not a superstar play, I don't know what is.
Okay. Okay.
Once again, he says it and runs.
All right, Skip, we've really been
By the way,
hammering home the free throw.
LeBron is obviously a superstar, but the topic, and I just needed to remind myself, LeBron has always been a poor shooter by superstar standards. We're not arguing is LeBron a superstar. Obviously, he's a freaking megastar.
Our percentage, and I'm sorry that I'm going to bring it up one more time, but so you said Jordan 84% for his career, LeBron 74%.
It's a big gap.
Take that over 10 points. That's 7 points versus 8 points out of 10. Are we going to determine?
Okay, remember, we're 22 years versus 11 full seasons. Go ahead.
Are we going to take 1 point in differential, call it 2 points even, out of every 10 points as to who the greatest basketball player of all time? Is that going to be the deciding factor as to why Michael Jordan, is the greatest basketball player of all time when LeBron makes up for that 1 point with an extra couple assists a game over the course of 20 years, a couple extra defensive boards, maybe offensive boards, blocks, steals? I feel like that's a pretty minuscule factor to be
all right.
counting into this.
In the end, step back, better scorer. Who do you want to score your points in a game that you got to win for your life? Would you rather have Jordan scoring points for you or LeBron scoring points?
Whoa,
LeBron James
that's insanity to answer that with LeBron. Wow. We got the greatest offensive force of all time, Michael Jordan. If there's anything, if I was a LeBron fan, I was sick in the head like they are, I would just try to make Jordan as a scoring assassin, and he did nothing else, and hope like people haven't done their research, But like that's the one thing you got to give him. He's obviously that guy when it comes to scoring the buckets.
Trust me, it's not even close.
That is a no-brainer.
The coldest-blooded basketball killer there ever was Michael Jordan. And if the game's on the line and you need a bucket, he will get you a bucket, and LeBron will let you down every time.
The only person that I would even argue against and say like, oh, I might take him over Jordan in like that clutch moment is Larry freaking Bird himself. He's the only guy that I'm like, if Bird's in a lineup, I might make Jordan the decoy and give it to him. I'd give it to both of them is what I would do. And just like take turns making the other person a decoy. So the defense never knows who's going to take this damn last shot. But they're both like, damn, man. You want the ball in the hands of guys like that who have zero fear, ice in the veins.
Is he going to be getting that bucket at the free throw line or in the field?
However it has to be gotten, he will. And he was not afraid of the late game free throw line. And you guys all know that your man LeBron is afraid of the late game free throw line. That's where he's at his worst.
He doesn't need the late game free throw line. He's hitting a three from the corner over Derrick Rose in 2014.
Cool. I think it was a 2 actually, but
I don't think that proved anything.
You don't need a flag.
All right, so you keep talking about late game free throws, free throw this, free throw that.
Yeah.
But, let's talk about also like late game moment. probably the greatest game in NBA history. 2016 Game 7 of the Finals. So like we said, we talked about Kyrie Irving hits the three to put
Why is
the
his jersey
to put the
reversed? Is that a new thing, peoples? Is that a thing that like cool to do now? I'm old enough to remember like jean shorts being reversed and sagged because of crisscross. So I'm not making fun of it. I'm just saying, is this a thing?
Cavs up 3. But to actually ice the game, how did the game end? LeBron goes to the rack and, I mean, almost destroys the rim, Draymond Green's life, and instead he ends up on the ground, and I thought he broke his wrist. He's in a lot of pain, misses the first free throw, but what does he do? He hits the second one, ices it, wins the championship. You talk about also all these things.
Okay, but you're up 3 already.
Right,
so,
of course,
okay,
but
all
that
right.
put the game essentially out of reach.
Okay.
We keep talking about cold-blooded, and I would argue Steph Curry's been LeBron James' biggest rival throughout his career. They met in 4 straight finals. No one's ever done that.
Tim Duncan and Steph Curry. It was different in the different eras. Yeah, but those are the two. Duncan owns him 2-1, and Steph owns him 3-1. And
In LeBron's career,
they're making an argument that LeBron is the greatest of all time, but he wasn't the greatest in either of his 10-year eras.
2009, 2010, he hits a game-winning buzzer beater in Golden State, wins the game on a deep
That
shot.
was the first one he ever made.
Okay.
That was his 478th NBA game, and it took 477 for him to finally make a regular season walk-off. It was over Ronny Turioff at Golden State on a Friday night. I was watching.
Appreciate you getting that, but that wasn't his first game winner. It might have been his first buzzer beater, but not his first game winner.
Buzzer beater. That
Fast
was it.
forward to Miami. Warriors are up 2. LeBron step back 3 from the left.
From 89 against the Cavs.
Wing hits the three-pointer, 0.1 left, so it's not a buzzer beater. What does he do? He does the signature.
Which game you talking
This
about
is
now?
2013 or 12 Heat Warriors, again in Golden State.
Okay.
And LeBron hits the game-winning 3 down 2 with 0.1. So it's not a buzzer beater
This
with the
isn't the
9-8.
same Warriors back then. This isn't the Steph Warriors at that time.
Now, later in his career, LeBron beats Curry in Golden State once in 2015, beats him twice in Golden State in 2016, 2018
All this
when
bread
they
and
lost
circuses just to get to the end of the line, which is in the NBA Finals when it mattered the most. Steph Curry beat LeBron 3 times in the finals, and LeBron only won once. All of this dancing around by this guy, talking about regular season games and all this crap that doesn't matter, just to stare at the wall at the end of the day and go, Steph owned him 75% of the time when it mattered. Oh. Like, dude, wake up, people. This is a sickness.
Game 1 of the finals. He hit, I think, 2 go-ahead baskets in the last 90 seconds of the game. Now you go to 2022, the play-in in Golden State. LeBron hits a deep 3, which is the game-winning shot in Golden State. Again, notice a pattern here. LeBron keeps hitting clutch shots, different variety. I haven't even mentioned he's probably the best fast break player of all time. He's probably the best.
LeBron has always been a poor shooter by superstar standards. What are we talking about here?
Dunker of all time, probably the best alley-oop dunker of all time. His post moves, his fadeaway signature, his three-point shot where he looks at the ball, hits one of these, and then catches it. That's another one that we haven't even talked
Hey, wait,
about.
if he's the greatest dunker ever, why
dunk
did he
contest.
avoid doing a dunk contest?
Because he doesn't need to show that
Well,
he
he doesn't
can.
need to show that.
So are we now
Yeah,
implying
because
that he
that would be
doesn't
good
have
for the game if he did show it. But he didn't because he's all about himself. You talk about Jordan being all about himself. Jordan was in a dunk contest, like 3 times? Maybe 4 times? To promote the NBA and build the league?
some of the best dunks ever.
Jordan took over a dunk contest and became the logo,
Right.
right?
Yeah,
From
yeah.
The free throw
Okay.
line, the logo, right?
LeBron's more worried about being the king of actual basketball and not All-Star
okay.
Weekend, which he has been the most of all time, by the way. And then my
Has
last
LeBron
point here
ever
is
won
that
an event in All-Star Weekend? Because I know he was in a skills challenge multiple times. I don't think he ever won it, though. So I ask again, has he ever won an event in the All-Star weekend?
LeBron has played now in 3 decades, the 2000s, 2010s, 2020s. But in reality,
Because in
he's
22
played
years, if
players
you never
that
won an event, that's pretty crazy, you know, as far as like talking about a guy being the greatest of all time.
played in the 80s, they played in the 90s, and then he played them in the 2000s. He'll have played players in the 2010s and the 2020s, and then after he's done, there will be players still playing in the 2030s and probably the 2040s that all went against LeBron James. That's 7 decades worth of different players he's gone up against, and that's so many years of evolution of basketball. James Naismith would be proud to have him represent that.
Okay, you got me. He is
King.
the longevity
That's
king.
It. That's the new name. That's it. We'll all give you that. He's the longevity king. But it's all about what you do while you're there, man. And he's done a lot less than all the other greats.
Where we missed a point here was that, would you believe that Michael Jordan 8 times played all 82 games. LeBron only once has played all 82 games, just for the record. So, in a smaller window, he was actually more durable than LeBron has been.
Right, but we're talking about scoring and not being durable here.
He brought it up.
Well, you brought it up.
Why is he backing out, though? See? He brought up this whole thing. That's why halfway through this, I reminded everyone, LeBron has always been a poor shooter by superstar standards. That's the topic. So he started it. He did a diversion of the topic. Skip joined in and said, screw it, I'll go with it. And now he's going to walk away.
Has been.
Right, but we're talking about scoring and not being durable here.
See, you were talking about all the longevity stuff. Bye-bye.
Well, you brought it up.
I'll end on that.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
All right.
He was fun, though. I would like to argue with him, like have a debate. He'd be fun. He'd be fun. Oh, shit. We got last one.
LeBron needed Dwayne Wade to teach him how to win, to be his rock. Who would
I'd
like
say
a
Dwayne
piece
Wade
of that?
and Pat Riley, by the way. They both deserve credit in this.
Gabriel.
Let me ask you a question. I know you stated your opinion, but I have a question for you. Did Michael Jordan not need Scottie Pippen? If not, why?
He didn't need him to teach him how to win because he already knew how to win.
He wasn't winning.
He obviously
He's already
needed
won an Olympic gold medal and NCAA championship before he ever met Scottie Pippen.
somebody other than Steve Kerr or Will Perdue or some of the other junk that he had to work with, right? Because those are just guys to me. You can mix and match all the John Paxsons and you got a whole list of people that Jordan brought along the way LeBron did to get to a finals, obviously his first go around in Cleveland. But Jordan was the ultimate winner, the ultimate leader in the locker room because they all were scared to death of him. He motivated his teammates by fear. LeBron motivates by love.
Well, he wasn't motivating by fear, I guess, in those first couple seasons when he wasn't making the finals until Scottie got there and started to really help.
Right.
You know,
But again, you're going up against 3 or 4, we could throw in 4, of the greatest teams ever. 3 for sure.
You know, last time I was in this chair, at least, we were talking about not debating this era versus this era. Let's just talk about the players that we're debating about themselves, right?
But again, Jordan didn't need Pippen to teach him anything because he knew it all.
Well,
he knew how to do it.
I argue against that, though. I push back against that specific claim.
I wish I was here. What did Pippen win before he met Jordan? Nothing. What has Jordan won before he met Pippen? Well, Olympics and NCAA champions. What did Dwayne Wade win before he teamed up with LeBron? NBA Finals MVP. What did LeBron win before he met Dwayne Wade? Crickets. Did he win the title in high school? Maybe. Do we count high school? I don't really think we do. We never have before. So, yeah. Who taught who? Who taught who in these scenarios?
you just
but
made.
Scottie Pippen was a follower, not a leader. He was a pure Robin to Batman.
Well, you could still.
I was there. I covered the team.
Hey, listen, Skip, but you could still make the case that Batman needs Robin to do what he needs to do. You know,
and sure, you do need something.
And,
yeah.
Okay, but to your point, the same way, you know, I do believe that Dwayne Wade had an impact on LeBron's career. Obviously, we're basketball fans, we know that. But I'm just making the case to you that it's extremely similar to the Batman and Robin relationship that you're getting at with Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan.
Okay, but in the beginning, in 2011, Dwayne
was the guy.
still. I know he tried to hand off the
Dwayne Wade was
baton
going
to
to be
LeBron.
Finals
But
MVP if they won that year. He was crushing it.
Dwayne was still Batman to Robin to me in 2011, and then they got to the finals, and when he needed Robin to be Robin, Robin couldn't be it.
So check it out.
And
so
that's
then maybe
exactly
there was
how
a
it
little
went
bit of an
down.
issue.
It was supposed to be Dwayne Wade is the guy, and LeBron is going to be Robin. But as Robin, LeBron crumbled. He shrunk. So in order to win, now Dwayne Wade has to have LeBron be Batman, and Dwayne Wade has to play Robin. And Dwayne Wade never played Robin before, but he was willing to do it, and they won. They won the next 2 years because of it. But it was always supposed to be D Wade is the guy. But yeah, he took a sacrifice for his legacy. I wonder if he regrets it now, because now everyone is trying to act like D Wade was nothing, when really he was the guy the whole time.
Issue between understanding your role in that regard, but you just made it very clear when Dwayne Wade was Batman, they lost in 2011, and then when the real Batman
handed off to him,
got the reins of the leadership
but
of that
he became
team.
the big brother that LeBron did not have. And I give you this: LeBron didn't have a Phil Jackson of a coach
Ever.
to teach him the ropes. How do you do this?
Yeah.
How do you control your emotions? How do you control stress? And Dwayne taught LeBron how to handle himself under the biggest stress and pressure of the finals.
But for you to now tell us that is a reason why you're going to knock him a peg in the GOAT debate, that seems silly to me.
But I applauded him for leaving Cleveland to go to Miami because he needed Dwayne Wade.
But give him the credit
the
of
better
what was
angle in
received.
my mind is that he had to go and join a champion, a Finals MVP, in order to ever win. Okay, didn't happen in the opposite order. They didn't draft Dwayne Wade. You know, like it's not like what the Bulls scenario was. So that's the angle I would go at. Would be, well, he had to join Dwayne Wade. You know, he had to join him in order to learn how to win, as opposed to Jordan. His situation was, well, he was just doing his best every single year, and he drafted Scottie Pippen, and then Scottie Pippen became a great Robin out of that. So it's just a different scenario, completely different. Once again, Jordan built the castle and stayed there, and LeBron, he had to go and ring chase and, you know, feed off of other people's success.
From that interaction with Dwayne Wade, he ended up developing himself into the player that he became, and the player that we all claim now is our GOAT. You know, so and another component there is when you know that Jordan had a great coach in college and then eventually continued to have great coaching throughout his career. LeBron, like you just mentioned, did not have that luxury. So him having to learn.
I don't think he had I don't think Mike Brown's a bad coach. I think he's a pretty good coach.
Comparable to the coaching staff.
At this point, LeBron's had like 15 coaches. You want to tell me none of them are good?
That Jordan received throughout the younger part of his career. And I think that's just the point that I kind of want to hammer home is that you are right. Dwayne Wade was a huge part of LeBron's career, massive. But the other part of that conversation is though Jordan has had just as big influences on his career that people who brought him to where he wanted to go.
Dwayne wasn't chopped liver in the 2012 finals when LeBron finally broke through and he said, it's about damn time that I won.
Scottie Pippen was never chopped liver, so we can agree on that. We can agree on that.
But remember, that was 1-1 going from Oklahoma City down to Miami for Game 3. And go look at Game 3. Dwayne was the star of that game. Well, he took over.
100%. And I'm sure that, you know, if we go back into the Bulls situation, you could find games where Scottie carried the Bulls.
I want to point out one clear difference real quick, or one difference in the way that these two guys are, LeBron and MJ. So LeBron had D Wade. D Wade eventually started having injury issues, and LeBron ditched him to go to a younger, better star. It reminds me of like the Sith in Star Wars. You know, this this apprentice will be far younger and stronger. But that's LeBron's way. Like, okay, well, you're you're on your decline. I'm out of here. I'm going to go join up with this young buck Kyrie. Now Jordan, while Scottie Pippen, his main guy, his career, his injuries were stacking up. That last three-peat was rough for Scottie Pippen, and Jordan had to carry a lot of the load because of it. When given the opportunity to trade him for someone younger, Tracy McGrady, in fact, they had it all lined up where they were going to be able to trade Scottie Pippen for T-Mac, and T-Mac was going to be with MJ. MJ said, no, you better not fucking do that. Don't get rid of Pippen. You get rid of Pippen, I'm out of here. And we know this is Jordan. This is how he does it because he did the same thing with Phil. Jordan, Phil, Scotty, like they're a tandem. Don't break it up. If you do, I'm out of here. That was Jordan's stance. Now, could he have won a lot more with the T-Mac? Oh, man, with a young T-Mac, pre-injuries and all that, around 1997? Oh, my God. It would have been like they would have just like rained terror on the league. But loyalty. He wants to win the right way versus I'm going to trade in my injured partner for someone younger and healthier. Big difference.
By the way, in 2012, remember the Mario Chalmers game? He scored 12 in the fourth quarter of that. That was game what?
Might go need someone. That's like
four. Yeah. Remember Mike Miller in the closeout game? Didn't Mike Miller hit 7 of 8 threes in the closeout game?
That's a good role player right there.
Okay. All right, here we go.
Hey, Skip, you mentioned that LeBron needed Dwayne Wade. I'd like to reframe that. I think LeBron needed to get away from the toxic situation that was in Cleveland. Now, LeBron at 18 years old, the chosen one, right, as he's coming in, who did he have as vets? Ricky Williams? He had guys who were missing rebounds on purpose to get triple-doubles. You look at those interviews that they were playing when they knew that they were going to get LeBron, and they said, yeah, he's going to be a role player. He can help out the team. He had such a bad locker room. He had such a bad ownership group. He had such bad management.
Who did young Jordan have as leadership? Didn't even have Bill Cartwright yet. Who'd he have? John Paxton, I guess?
Were so poorly managed that they had a chance to get Amari Stoudemire, and they passed on him to keep J.J. Hickson. So that's why LeBron had to get the hell up out of there.
You didn't think Ilgauskas was pretty good?
No, his feet were different sized. He averaged 13 points in the finals. And
I actually thought he was good, man.
He was okay. He was okay. Now you look at
he was good. He was good. I'll stick with the word.
Situation in Miami, and like my man just said, when the real Batman emerged, all of a sudden they started winning. I would also like to point out that first championship.
The Miami Heat started winning, because you need both, right? You need a Batman and Robin, and I already said it. I gotta move on.
Championship year, Dwayne Wade's stats weren't that great, and in the second championship year, they kind of fell off a cliff. And now the whole Dwayne Wade argument kind of gets thrown out of the water when you look at the fact that he went to Cleveland and he won a championship there, and then he went to the Lakers and won a championship there. He's the only player in NBA history to win Finals MVP with 3 different teams.
And that's because he abandons his teams whenever things get tough. That's not something to be proud of. I don't know. I don't see guys out there bragging that they're on their 3rd marriage or their 4th marriage. Like, it's not a flex.
Is the winning situation. You bring him wherever you go, no matter the situation, he's going to deliver. He's going to deliver.
60% of the time, he's going to deliver a finals loss. 40% of the time, he's going to deliver. But that doesn't even account for all the years, because he's been playing 22 years and he's only won 4 times. Oh, what's the math there? Hold on. He's played 22 divided by 4. 5.5. Oh, sorry. 4 divided by 22. So there's an 18% chance that LeBron James is going to lead you to a championship each year. 18% chance. Okay.
To get Amari Stoudemire, and they pass on him to keep J.J. Hickson. So that's why LeBron had to get the hell up out of there.
You didn't think Ilgauskas was pretty good?
No, his feet were different sized. Lakers won a championship there. He's the only. Odd man.
I wasn't a big Krause fan. I knew him well. I just whatever.
Well, I wasn't around then, so I didn't really know Krause. But he drafted Scotty. He scouted Scotty when Scotty was 6'1", right? Playing at some small school.
Arkansas,
he was a great basketball mind. I don't know who LeBron's GM. I forget his name, but obviously he wasn't very good. He was pretty lousy, right? I think the best player in the 2007 finals was Boobie Gibson, who was a G leaguer, and then his starting guard was Larry Hughes, who once famously shot a layup in a dunk contest.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, he's
That's all I'm
currently
saying.
dealing with Rob Pelinka, and Rob Pelinka got him AD, Russell Westbrook, Carmelo Anthony, and others, and now Luka Doncic. Got you Austin Reeves in the draft, and Dalton Connect, and even drafted your freaking son. Like, yeah, LeBron's had good GMs too, bro.
He was good. He was hurt, though. He was hurt by that point. No disrespect to Larry Hughes, but Jordan was just in a much better situation all the time. Why, when you're born to a privileged household, right? Why would you have to run away? You just stayed there.
Household?
Very privileged. The Chicago Bulls were extremely well run. He had all-stars all around him. He got to punch guys and get away with it.
The
He was
Bulls
a Hall
were
of
a
Fame
wreck
coach.
before Jordan arrived. Even after Jordan arrived for a couple of years.
Michael Jordan despised Jerry Krause. I was once walking with Michael during a Pro-Am. He was a golfer, pretty good golfer, and hit his drive in a fairway bunker, and he pulled out his 5-wood, and I said, "You're going to try to hit a 5-wood out of there? Because it's a hard shot if you know golf." And he said, "Yeah, I just looked down and imagined Jerry Krause's face on the golf ball." That's a quote from Michael Jordan to me. Okay, that's how. Okay, so is that well run? He despised it.
Poor character guy. Likes to bully those that are a little bit beneath him. It's not very fair.
He was the ultimate bully, and all he did was go 6-0 in the finals. But anyway, way to go. Dwayne Wade.
So, what's this word that you've said in pretty much every topic that you've had? You just referenced it
Free throws. Right?
Yes, okay, so let me go on the record. Jordan is a better free throw shooter than LeBron. On the record, we could say that. You keep saying this word "if," right? Yeah. If has kind of defined some people's lives, right? If this thing went differently, if my aunt had balls, she'd be a bicycle, something like that. I don't know how that goes, but
yeah.
You've now said, so if the Bulls made different front office decisions, if Cleveland made different front office decisions, we keep talking about ifs. If Jordan was in this era where we were putting all this emphasis on the three-point shot, it would be different, like he would shoot more threes. Why can't we, again, live in reality? Stop talking about ifs. The Bulls drafted his Robin, right? They didn't have to move teams to get a D-Wade type of player. He drafted their Robin. The Bulls had a much better front office. It was a much better situation. So, if they never got Scottie Pippen 1-9 in the playoffs at that time, he would have left. So, we could play ifs and buts all day. If ifs and buts were candies and nuts.
Player, because not trying to bash Scottie, but I'm just being fair here, 1-1. I don't recall him winning a championship without Michael Jordan and being Finals MVP. Didn't happen.
We'd all have a wonderful Christmas. You keep saying if.
All right,
so he left because
they
had one player. They got Mo Williams. I remember being I was a kid when they got Mo Williams in the summer during the 2008 Olympics. I was celebrating. We were high-fiving. We just got Mo Williams. He was like a 16-point-a-game scorer. That's who they were bringing in to help him as his right-hand man.
Help me out with some facts here.
Please.
What happened after Michael walked into the sunset and Scottie Pippen left Chicago? What was the rest of his career? He was right in the heart of his prime. What happened? Go look it up.
When he went to Portland?
He went to Houston first. Crapped out in Houston.
He was pretty good in Portland, though, that.
No, he wasn't. Go look at and his numbers just start going
the Portland
down.
Was good, but Scottie wasn't Scottie anymore, man.
Lost.
Other than LeBron, every single human in history of sport has went down, other than LeBron James. He's the only one who hasn't.
Scottie, in the end, was made by Michael Jordan. Just trust me on that. Michael just made he was, and they put him in the top. What is it?
He had that big of an impact on him.
It
doesn't make any sense.
It does make sense.
No, it does. No, I mean, just go look at what happened to Scottie Pippen. Yeah.
When he was 35?
No, he wasn't 35. He was like 32.
Okay, Dwayne Wade.
Yeah.
I have got two things to say here, Skip. I'm going to go through a list of players I'm sure we're all familiar with. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar played with Oscar Robertson. Later on, Bird with McHale.
Sure.
Magic with Kareem. Jordan then got Scottie Pippen. Kobe,
Yeah, and
Shaq,
all of these
LeBron,
scenarios are pretty organic compared to LeBron going to Dwayne Wade.
Mo Williams. The common thread between all these situations is that these players were either drafted, like the ones I've mentioned, into situations where they either had players to learn from, sort of as a rite of passage on your way to becoming a Hall of Famer. And then Jordan, right? And I'm going to call on your experience here, because as I know, as a someone that's watched your show, Skip, you covered the Bulls, so you can correct me if I'm wrong here. But isn't the narrative, especially the one that came out from The Last Dance, that before Scottie came and before Phil was brought on as the coach, Jordan's approach to the game year after year, when they lost in the first round and then I think the second round in the semifinals against the Pistons, the narrative was that Jordan would shoot, and wouldn't defer to his teammates. He wasn't a team player. Now, then came an ultimatum of what we'll call, we brought in Scottie Pippen, we brought in Phil Jackson, and we brought in Dennis Rodman.
No,
and
they
we
didn't bring
created
in
a
Dennis
culture.
Rodman. That happened 10 years later. So this guy doesn't know the history. They drafted Scottie Pippen, they drafted Horace Grant, and they promoted, they fired Doug Collins and promoted Phil Jackson. That's the real timeline, guys. Don't get confused by his inaccuracies.
And an organization that got a grip on Jordan that forced him to think about the game differently. Now, that's not something we knock against Jordan. It's not something we knock
shouldn't,
against
because
any
the
of those other
coach
players.
is the strategist of the team. So Jordan adapted to his coaches, and that's what he did until eventually we found a magic potion that worked between coach and star.
LeBron leaves a horrible situation, goes and plays with Dwayne Wade, and suddenly that is a knock on his career. I have to disagree.
Okay, it's not a knock. He just couldn't figure out how to control his own emotions, even though he was shorthanded in Cleveland, obviously. And he did have an owner who, after he walked out the door, when free agency hit, Dan Gilbert, remember, issued a statement in which he accused LeBron James of quitting? Yeah. Really?
And by the way, so Dan Gilbert hated him. So that relationship led to hatred. The next relationship was with Pat Riley, and Pat Riley despised him. Probably still really does to this day, but if you listen to some podcasts with Dwayne Wade or Haslam, Mike Miller, you'll see that, Pat Riley absolutely hated LeBron James for the way he abandoned the team. Because for only 4 years, Pat Riley had to sacrifice the entire future of that team to build that team around LeBron. Like, it was BS. So, it's messed up. Every time he leaves. And I'm sure Dan Gilbert hates him again because he left again.
No owner would ever accuse Michael Jordan of quitting because they'd fear that Michael would come knock on their door and bust him in the mouth.
Right.
Okay, that's what you're dealing with. That's different.
In a world where LeBron does figure it out, he then just becomes the first Hall of Famer to do so. Because like all those great Hall of Famers who come after Jordan and LeBron.
You're right about The Last Dance.
You're referring to series that...
Yeah. Okay. Way to go.
All right, last one.
All right, I'll be quick. So I want to defend my hometown Cleveland a little bit. Obviously, they messed up by not acquiring enough talent. But LeBron, while he was there, brought one of the worst teams that has ever made the finals to the finals when he was 22, when Jordan was making a shot in college. Those teams would not have been as successful and won as many games without somebody that knew how to win. So yes, Dwayne Wade helped him overcome the mountain ultimately, but he was a winner before that. I could also argue that
he was a
the
good
2011
player. He
loss
wasn't a winner
is what,
yet. Just like Jordan, I mean, if you talk about his NBA career, he wasn't a winner until 91. It just is what it is. But was he a great player? Yeah, most people considered him the greatest player. In fact, the best player in the league. But he wasn't, it's just different. He wasn't a winner yet.
Ultimately allowed him to take that next step. He realized what he needed to improve and then did that.
LeBron needed Dwayne Wade to teach him how to win, to be his rock. Yes, LeBron James was already a phenomenal freak of a basketball player, but he needed Dwayne Wade and Pat Riley to teach him how to win. It is what it is.
Over the next 7 years to win 3 finals, one over the best team of all time.
Do you realize people in your city were burning their LeBron jerseys because he sat there during the decision, televised nationally, and said, "I'm taking my talents to South Beach," right? And it crushed your soul. You were, I think, old enough to remember your soul. You had a soul.
I was at a
right?
summer baseball tournament. We were all watching.
Okay, and again, I almost became the mayor of Cleveland at that point because everybody thought, I'm the LeBron basher, and yet I stood up in those days on First Take and said, no, I applaud. I gave him a standing ovation because he needed to go and join forces with not only Dwayne, but Chris Bosh, who was he was a perennial all-star in Toronto, and Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra, and had quality above and around him, and had a big brother figure, and it was the best thing he could have done. And his best years, his best run to me was in Miami, post-Cleveland, before he went back to Cleveland. That's when he was at his greatest because he was surrounded by greatness.
Yeah, my final point would just be to piggyback off of your point there. In the 2013 season, he was the best player of all time. So if we're arguing peak versus longevity in favor of Jordan with the higher peak, the 2013 season that LeBron had is the greatest peak that any basketball player has ever had.
That was
go back and look at 19
versus an 8-year run or a 6-year run, however you want to put it for MJ. Actually, go back to like 87. Yeah, go from 87 all the way to 98, and that would be Jordan's reign of terror. So comparing one season versus that, not interested.
9 regular season. Michael Jordan, 33, 8, and 8 in Defensive Player of the Year. I don't know how you can.
Did he win the championship?
No, he did not.
There you go.
Okay.
But he won 6.
No,
so
wait
if that's
a
all
second.
that matters. Y'all lose anyways.
Wait a second. Neither did LeBron because Ray Allen won the championship. I'm Skip Bayless, and this is why LeBron James is not the GOAT.
Oh, man, they should have introed with that. They should have introed the whole series with that. That's so cool. Damn. Okay. There's too much to unpack. This video, I don't even know how long this is. Probably like 2 hours at this point. I got to wrap it up. Guys, I got to pee like crazy. There's nothing really left for me to say. I think I've said it all. It's your turn, everyone. Get in the comments. Let's have a conversation. I didn't do this video for 2 hours long and getting demonetized for nothing. So let's have a good conversation at the very least. Yeah, guys, I'll see you down there in the comments. And nothing else to say, guys. Thank you very much. If you guys have made it, let me know in the comments that you made it to the end. I'm very curious if any of you really did. That would be awesome if you did. Thank you if you did. And yeah, leave the vid a like, subscribe to the channel, guys. And I got to go pee some water, my friends. Peace out.